Hello, shalom, Brukuba, welcome. We are all over the place tonight. I have 15 minutes late. 15 minutes late indeed, yes. So what happened? What happened was no one joined the stream for 15 minutes, so we were just chatting.
Right.
But we were planning on doing the normal Bible study. He's like David Wood. Come on now, I'm not that bad. We were planning on doing the normal Bible study. Steven is sick and Christian Gadfly was busy. So I was like, okay, I'm just not going to stream today unless you want to do something. And then Chase was like, yeah, let's go through the determinism because that came up on Friday's live stream, which I was also asleep through. So we're going to go back through that. And then I might bring up, depending on how long that takes and how much energy we have left, I might also bring up the stuff for one of my favorite ways to debunk Islam is just showing how the attributes of Allah make him logically impossible to exist in reality. So we might go through as well with the Allah's impossible argument, but I'm gonna let Chase handle the other stuff for his favorite argument. Oh, and then also there's a Christian gadfly
I
here.
was gonna say I know that noise.
That was indeed a Christian gadflyer. The sleaziest sleaze of the seven sleaze.
76. Okay.
I'm gonna bring him down while he's getting set up.
So
But
I will find this hadith. Yes, inshallah.
yeah, throw these up there too, so you can see yourself, talk to yourself. Even though, so I am very proud of the fact that I have gotten David Wood to stream not only on time but 2 minutes early. So on my third stream I did with David, we did in fact go live 2 minutes early. Very, very based. Do we need to leave for Gadfly's channel? I think he has all the hours he needs. And he also hasn't started his own stream yet. So I don't think it's possible to go to Gadfly's channel yet. And yeah, he has all the hours you need. I mean, you can watch it on his channel if you so desire, but yeah, I don't get any money for you watching right now unless you watch the replay. So if you part of the replay watches, you giving me AdSense. Thank you. Unless you have an ad blocker, then to each their own. I don't blame you. I feel that. I feel that. But yeah. So whenever Chase is ready, he's looking through the sources that he wanted to bring up for the hadith, and I think he's looking for a phantom hadith right now. But
it's not phantom. Well, okay, so I did like. So I do like Bukhari 66:14 where Moses and Adam argue over why they're not in Jannah. And Adam's like,
we can go through my favorite hadith real quick while people are waiting.
Yeah.
Bukhari 34:4. One of my favorites. Also not in my book. This is one of the very few hadith that are not in my book because they're not actually stolen. This is a Quran original or a Muhammad original. So, see if I can get this to where it's not disgusting format. I don't think I can. Wait, can I do it with? Hold on, we're about to Omega Brain this. I have no idea if this is going to work or not. Oh no, it doesn't work. That sucks. I have a zoom function on my mouse, but it doesn't work for the stream. Anyway, not the marketplace, Bean. That is indeed a very, very fun one. I can bring that up as well. And thank you for the jewels, brother. But this is Sai Bukhari 34:4. Narrated Abu Huraira, Allah's messenger, said the prophet Moses was a shy person who used to cover his body completely because of his extensive shyness. One of the children of Israel hurt him by saying, He covers his body in this way only because of some defect in his skin, either leprosy or scrotal hernia, or he has some other defect in his, his testicles. Allah wished to clear Moses of what they said about him, so one day while Moses was in seclusion, he took off his clothes and put them on a stone and started taking a bath. When he had finished the bath, he moved towards his clothes so as to take them, but the stone took his clothes and fled. Moses picked up his stick and ran after the stone, saying, "O stone, give me my garment." Till he reached a group of the Bani Israel who saw him naked, and then found him to be the best of what Allah had created. And Allah cleared him of what they accused him of. So they accused him of having a bad junk, and then he apparently has not only good or fine or normal junk. Also, what is happening to my sharing? Why am I so small? Wait, is that on the stream? Live. It is. What is happening with my camera? Hold on, let me open up OBS. Oh, I was apparently sharing. How did that happen? Oh, this. I'm like sorting through my OBS. That's fun. Okay. I forgot that was a thing. Anyway, so apparently Moses didn't actually have a bad junk, but he actually had the greatest junk Allah had ever created. And then this is applied to Muhammad in Surah 33, Ayah 69. Or at least this is in the Quran itself. So this is a hadith explaining this random passage of Surah 33 with them proving the innocence of Moses. And I kid you not, I have looked for hours trying to find this, pouring through various midrash and other nonsense. I have never once been able to find a source that's anything close to this. So, but this is one of my favorite hadith. It's just him chasing after a stone with his clothes as he's a naked man running about. Much fun. Wonderful. And I can also bring up I doxed my wife again. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be too hard to find my wife if you're so inclined. But my full legal name is out on the internet. Not really hiding anything. Okay, where is that? This is Bean Delphine's favorite story from Islamic sources, and it's definitely one of my favorites. And this is Al-Tabari or Al-Quturbi, 1850. So let's bring this up real quick. We'll have a gay old time. Ah, no, I didn't want to open this up and close all windows. Open with Edge. There we go. All right. 1850. And bring that up on the screen. This one is a lot of fun. So this passage of the Quran is basically like, hey, is defending Linus Maximus? Okay, thanks. This is a very strange part of the Quran, which basically says that, hey, Satan has children. And they're explaining, okay, well, how does Satan have children? This is in Al-Qurtubi. So that's Tabari. Let's go down a bit for Qurtubi. And this is a free, you zoom out. There's Qurtubi. So it's talking about the descendants of Iblis. How in the world did Iblis have offspring? So Al-Shabai said, a man asked me and said, does Iblis have a wife? Because the verse talks about him having offspring. So like, hey, can the devil have children? He doesn't have a wife. So it's kind of like a similar question to Allah. Does Allah have a wife? And his answer to this is pretty stupid. I said, that is a wedding that I did not witness. Then I remembered his statement, will you then take him and his offspring as allies? So this is in Surah 18, Ayah 50. I knew that there can be no offspring except from a wife, so I said yes. And Mujahid said, Iblis inserted his female hole into his own female hole and laid 5 eggs. Well, it's just because the Arabic here is ambiguous. It basically just means genital into his genital. So the way this is actually usually translated, right here is a weird translation, but the way it's usually translated is he inserts his male member into his female member and lays 5 eggs. And this is the origin of his offspring. So he is asexual. He reproduces by having one on one thigh and one on another thigh, and then he just claps his like knees together, and then out pops 5 eggs. Okay, and these are golden eggs, and each egg there are demons and male demons and female demons that come out of it. But God created for him a male member on his right thigh and a female member on his left thigh. So he has intercourse with one and the other every day. 10 eggs emerge. So he does it twice a day to have 2 batches of 5 eggs, and from each egg, 70 male and female demons emerge. So 140 babies times 10. So he has 1,400 babies every day from his knee clapping. Also, Christian, are you here? Or are you just in the comments? Yeah, this is literally in Islam. This is not only in Islam. This is from Qurtubi, which is one of their primary, most authentic and authoritative exegetes. And then he has a hadith that mentions this. So, yes, this is literally in the Islamic sources. So he flies while he is flying, and the one with the greatest status in the eyes of his father is the one who is the greatest temptation among the children of Adam. And some people said he has no children or offspring, or his offspring are helpers from the devils. And it talks about how they are the children. And then he goes on to talk about a chain of transmission about a hadith that mentions what he just talked about. So, on the authority of Solomon, who said, the messenger of God, Baha, said, do not be the first to enter the market, nor the last to leave it, for in it Satan has laid eggs and hatched them. This indicates that Satan has offspring from his loins, and God knows best. Ibn Atiyah said, his saying is his offspring. The apparent meaning of the wording indicates the whisperers from the devils who do evil and carry on falsehood. Al-Tabari and others mentioned that Mujahid said the offspring of Iblis are the devils, for he considered them to be Zalmbra, the owner of the markets, specifically, who places his banner in every market between heaven and earth, placing that banner on a shop or whoever opens it, and the last to close it. So he is specifically a being that lays eggs and then hides them in marketplaces for them to hatch and spawn demons that then torture and also tempt people into sin. This is in the Islamic sources, and that hadith, not the explanation from the tafsir, but this hadith is actually in hadith collections. It's not just from Qurtubi. So the hadith is in a variety of things. They hijacked your account. I have become the Christian Gadfly. Hello, Mary. How you doing, Mary? It's been a while since I've talked to you. Yeah, this hadith is in some of the smaller hadith collections, but the story of the knee clapping, that's a Qurtubi original, as far as I am aware of in the Islamic sources. So, good times to be had by all.
Indeed.
Yeah, he can lay eggs specifically by reproducing with himself. Yeah, this is in Islam. Gadfly is already at the 4,000 hours, so you can hang out here. You can go there, do whatever you want. So Satan makes it clap.
Dude, no.
Dude, Islam is just a crap version of so many different things all smashed together.
I feel like Supernatural is a better version of Islam because it can...
Uh, some good comments from that. But you ready?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll find that
Yeah.
hadith one of these days. It did not
Okay.
appear. Um, anyways, so yes. Hello all.
Hello.
Oh, Shake and bake here with your daily Islam funness. All right. So, for those of you guys who missed the live stream last time, um, I'm not even. Um,
Have you ever read about Allah? So that's an interesting thing with the water of heaven, the fluids of heaven, and all of us being resurrected from the tip of our coccyx, so your tailbone. This is actually in the midrash as well. The idea that we're all going to be resurrected from an indestructible bone, that's the tip of our coccyx. Um, that is in both Jewish and Islamic sources. That's in the Hadith specifically.
I
But
love
yeah,
that.
there's even a narrative like, oh, they're trying to destroy this bone and it won't be destroyed. Like they're hammering it, they're trying to smash it, and all these other things, and just not breaking because it's indestructible. And then that is what Allah's fluid, whether it's rain or ejaculate, um, his fluid will rain on your bone, and then you will be resurrected.
Amen.
Yeah, and she brought up the throne semen. Yeah, Islam is weird. Egypt also has a similar narration of the universe being created through fluid, and yeah,
All
I made a
right.
video on that.
So, as I was saying, for those of you who missed last stream, we were going through my favorite argument against Islam, um, against our good friend Aladdin. He came up and was very much expecting me to go Islamic Dilemma. He was expecting me to go somewhere more popular, but none of those are my favorite arguments against Islam. My favorite argument against Islam is what is known as the rationality argument. Now, you may know the rationality argument is a pretty famous argument that Christian apologists and theists across the board have used generally against atheism, because if you are unaware, atheism inevitably leads to fatalism, i.e., that everything that will happen is determined by the laws of physics and of chemistry, and that nothing can really be avoided because that's just how the universe is playing out. So, um, now people will use the rationality argument against atheism because of its fatalistic nature, but I like to use the rationality argument against theistic deterministic positions as well, because oddly enough, I think it works just as well, if not better, against theistic determinism, just because of how it lines things out. Um, so I don't know if you're all familiar with Islam's determinism, but I would just like to go through and show you guys that Islam does teach determinism. But before we do that, I'd just like to define determinism. So, determinism is the idea that God has decreed singularly everything everything that has, is, or will happen. Now, he decrees this outside of human will, outside of the will of anything other than himself. It is solely based on his own will, that he determines everything, like the writer of a book, the writer of a movie, the writer of a play, the writer of a puppet show. All of these things are determined beforehand, right? If I write a novel, let's say The Ranger's Apprentice. If I write the novel, The Ranger's Apprentice was a fantastic book series, by the way. If I write this book, then everything that I write in the book is fixed. It is determined. It doesn't matter how fast you flip the next page, or how slow you flip it, or what kind of mood you're in when you flip the next page. What the next page says is determined before you pick up and read the book. And that's how determinists believe that the universe operates, is that before any human being ever picked up the proverbial book of life and opened its first pages, everything was laid out to happen fatalistically. And what that means is that it was fated to happen. It was destined to happen. This was something that must occur, right? And a lot of them will justify this based on God's will. They'll say, well, how can something go against God's will, right? Which, we as believers, and I mean there are believers who would argue for determinism, but most of Christianity, I would say the overwhelming majority of Christianity, has always believed in a sort of free will for human beings. So as I as we look, we'll just go through a couple of things. I say a couple. We're gonna read a lot, because half of this argument, half of this argument, especially when it comes to talking to Muslims, ends up becoming you teaching them their religion. Because most Muslims will deny the fact that their religion teaches determinism. Kafar also points out that they are also occasionalists. This is a specific kind of determinist that believes that there is literally no natural order or anything, that Allah just uses things as occasions to make other things happen, i.e., he uses the flint and steel in your, survival pouch as an occasion to make fire. He uses the wind as an occasion to move your sail. That's he didn't actually determine for those things to be that way naturally. That's just what he determines to happen. So
it also means that he occasioned for Khomeini to be killed by missiles.
Right, and we have a video on that, oddly enough. But we so yes, in Wind and Waves of All, not all determinists are necessarily occasionalists. Some determinists will say that there are hard laws, but again, what exactly, like, how do you differentiate between occasionalism and like exhaustive divine determinism? It gets muddy. So the way we just like to call them determinists because not everybody knows what an occasionalist is. Abu Bakr, the closest companion of Muhammad, has a quote in which he says, what does he say? So Abu Bakr has a quote in which he says, although he, speaking of the Prophet Muhammad, had such a faith which was too great to suffice all the inhabitants of the earth, he was afraid that his heart might go astray. So he used to utter while weeping, would that I have been a bitten tree. Whenever he was reminded of his position in Allah's sight, he would say, by Allah, I would not rest assured and feel safe from the deception of Allah, even if I had one foot in paradise. This is this isn't a hadith. This is just a quote from Abu Bakr. You can find it pretty much anywhere. And so this again, introducing the idea that it is Allah's decree where you end up. We'll go ahead
and make a statement that'll get me demonetized real quick.
I don't see why not. I can't stop you.
So in the chat, whenever people send jewels, it says this person sent the jewels for this much. And Ash he's sending jewels right now. Thank you, brother. But it says Ash May sent happy poop for 10 jewels. And then he also sent one called hiding. But whenever I read it, it said in my head, he was hiding from the Jews instead of hiding for jewels.
Right.
So I just got entirely thrown off with Ash, a Jew, hiding from the Jews because we're talking about Islam. Anyway.
Right.
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 Yeah.
So let's go ahead and break into the Quran. We'll go ahead and pull up Surah 4, 143. I will pull my screen up here in just a second. I gotta navigate to it. So 4 and 143. Hey, it did it the first time. This time.
Just spamming the hiding.
Share Share screen, tab, share. Add to stage. All right. So here we have Surah 4, verse 143. We'll start in verse 142. It says, "Indeed, the hypocrites think to deceive Allah, but He is deceiving them." This is not the part that I was wanting to get to, but it is pretty funny. "And when they stand for prayer, they stand lazily, showing themselves to the people and not remembering Allah except a little, wavering between
He's a
them,
deceiver.
belonging neither to these, i.e. the believers, nor to those, i.e. the disbelievers, and whoever Allah sends astray, never will you find for him a way." So, we have this idea that Allah sends some people astray. Now you could argue, oh, well, Chase, it's because they were standing for prayer lazily. These people were disrespecting the methods of Allah. Oh, okay. All right. Let's continue. Surah 6, verse 25. Just as soon as it loads. 6:25. By Allah, what is going on? 6, verse 25. Okay. It says, "And among them are those who listen to you, but we have placed over their hearts coverings lest they understand it, and in their ears deafness. And if they should see every sign, they will not believe in it. Even when they come to you arguing with you, those who disbelieve say this is not but legends of the former peoples." So for context, he's talking about people who come to Muhammad and they're like, "Hey, we've actually heard all of this stuff before." And Allah's like, "Haha, but you see, I'm the one placing over their hearts coverings and placing wax in their ears to deafen them so that they do not believe." Okay. This is judicial hardening, Chase. All right, hey. Yeah, all right, let's go to 7:179.
They are uncircumcised hearts.
Says, "And we have certainly created for hell many of the jinn and mankind. They have hearts with which they do not understand, they have eyes with which they do not see, and they have ears with which they do not hear. Those are like livestock. Rather, they are more astray. It is they who are the heedless." Now notice, you could, if he didn't insert this one phrase, you may be able to have me on this one, but it says, "And we have created for." Now, Chris, if I were to go to Walmart and purchase for myself a brand new Lego set, and with it I have the intention of displaying it in my awesome Lego Star Wars case with the glass and the lights and all the cool looking ones, and I build up this Lego Star Wars set, and I go to place it in my cabinet, and all of a sudden the Lego, it speaks to me. It says, "Hey, I don't want to be on the shelf. How about you give me to your nieces and your nephews so they can play with me?" I would say,
Ooh.
"Excuse me, I created you for this purpose." That's a pretty dope, Boba. I
Yes.
created you for this purpose. There isn't anything you can do about it. Now,
Nope.
when we read, "And we have certainly created for hell many of the jinn and mankind," it doesn't say that we have created hell and many of the jinn and mankind are going to end up in there. Is that what it says? No. It says we created for hell many of the jinn and mankind.
Yep.
Talk,
Talking Legos were
talking
we
Legos
were.
crazy. This says we are created for hell. I say we. Some of the jinn and mankind are created for hell. Ironically enough,
Right.
the Quran actually seems to suggest that the jinn actually have some kind of free will, but again, it's like I don't necessarily think that the Quran is coherent, so it can teach Qadar and also teach not Qadar. I have no problem with that. And then probably the one that is the worst for the defenders of Islamic free will is 7630. So it says here in chapter 76. Hello.
No,
And
there's a very hateful Muslim that joined in Christian's server. Or not server. Discord just fried my brain.
wait, where?
His stream.
I you can that's a real YouTube account name. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, no, he threatened to kill and grape Elle and Sarah. So
But
I'm gonna go ahead and ban him real quick.
right, as one should.
Hide user. Goodbye, sir. Repents. Before Judgment Day, you will be judged for your actions, your words, your thoughts, your deeds, and your idol worship of Satan. Right.
Oh my goodness. Quran.com may be I love Mormon website. It's so intuitive. This Quran.com I don't understand
It's
why it
really
has to be
not
this way.
good.
No.
That's why we're making the Quran Reader we're making, because Quran.com not only does it have only translations that are not very truthful, it doesn't. It's really bad to read through.
Right.
So we're gonna make a website dedicated to good night, Ash. We're making a website dedicated to the Quran that's gonna be significantly better than to any of the stuff that's currently available. So we're working on.
Unheard of. Yeah. So here we have in Surah 76 verse 30, and you do not will except that Allah wills. Indeed, Allah is ever knowing and wise. And you do not will except that Allah wills. Is there any way other than determinism to interpret this? Like, I don't know how you could possibly get around you do not will except that Allah wills, because it doesn't just say he determines your actions, he determines your will. Let's look at the tafsir here. Verses 23. Yep, we gotta get to verse 30. 76. He created them a strong build. But you cannot will unless Allah wills, meaning no one is able to guide himself, enter into faith, or bring about any benefit for himself, unless Allah wills, meaning he is most knowledgeable of who deserves to be guided, so he makes guidance easy for him, and he predestines for him that which will be a cause for it. However, who deserves misguidance? Chris, who deserves misguidance in Islam?
The disbelievers.
Literally anyone that Allah wants.
Kuffar.
Yeah.
Why are they kuffar? Because Allah wanted it to be kuffar.
Yeah, because Allah wanted them to be. He averts guidance from him.
Yep. So you can't choose to be a believer or a disbeliever in Islam. Allah chooses for you. You cannot.
Sorry, go ahead.
This is like the worst form of Calvinism that you could imagine.
Right.
Like Allah is the author of evil. He's the author of disobedience. He's the author of sin. And he also says, if you didn't sin, I would have destroyed you all so that you would have sinned. Because Allah is a logically impossible being, which is another argument that we may or may not get to tonight. His attributes require people to be sinners. His attributes require creation to exist, even though they're supposed to be eternal, because Allah is immutable.
Right.
This doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Now, there are, so like Arminians believe in what's known as prevenient grace, and
Yes, he does.
prevenient grace is the idea that man lost free will in the fall, and it takes God's prevenient grace to essentially bestow free will back upon him. I don't believe that personally. I think that man's freedom is just generally preserved. I do think that freedom is obviously a gift, so it is a grace that we receive, but it's not something that we have to be re-gifted after the fall. We just innately have free will. Now, this, however, is different. Let's read. It says, no one is able to enter into faith.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is very important, because you could say, oh, well, Chase, of course no one is able to guide himself. How would you guide yourself in the religion if God wasn't there helping? Absolutely. Hey, I completely agree. You're not even able to enter into Islam by yourself. This is something that God has to determine for you to do. You said 6:125?
Yeah. So this actually, that statement right there is proof that Allah is evil. So whoever Allah wills to guide, he opens their heart to Islam. Unless he decides to do that, you can't be saved. So it's not a man that has an open heart who leads to Islam. It's Allah is like, I'm going to randomly choose that person. They're going. I'm going to choose everyone else not to. It is Allah picking and choosing who he wants to save. But then Allah is also causing all sin. He's also causing all pain. He's causing all suffering.
What was that website Mary said earlier? Good night. I can't with this freaking. Where's it called? What did she recommend?
Islam Awakened.
Islam Awakened. Let's try that one.
So again, Allah decides whether or not your heart will be open to him. That's how he can make you choose it. But that again is going against Qadar. You have to have exhaustive divine determinism. So what the Quran teaches, especially what the Hadith teach. The Hadith are even more crazy into that. Okay, again, don't bring up the Bible. We're talking about the Quran. We're talking about the Hadith. We're talking about your faith. Your faith is incoherent. Now, Christianity could also be incoherent. We can talk about that after, but can you admit that Islam is incoherent with your experience of reality? So that's the point. Exhaustive divine determinism is not based on reality. And the attributes of Allah are not really based on reality whatsoever either.
Yeah, 6:125
That's the
is
problem.
another banger that's going in the notes.
Yeah. Christianity. Okay. Allah's
Sorry, continue.
I can quickly give this. Does Allah make sense? Because I don't think he actually does. Are his attributes eternal? The standard Muslim answer is yes. His attributes are eternal. He's unchanging. He's immutable. Are his attributes always true? Now, your answer has to be yes because he's immutable. How could he be a bestower of mercy before creation? How could he be a bestower of justice before creation? How could he be a giver of love before creation? How is Al-Wadud, Al-Rahman, how are those things possible before creation? And then also, how is his mercy, how is he perfectly merciful, all-loving, and perfectly just? Justice implies no mercy. Mercy implies no justice. Allah can't overcome those. It's arbitrary. Which one wins? That's a logical impossibility for him to be both of those things without some form of intermediary or himself even taking it on. Okay, again, Christianity is not one God. And anyway, but brother, you didn't do a good job studying the Trinity. And if you're wanting to come on Wednesday, I would be happy to talk to you about the Trinity and any other question you have against Christianity. But Islam is not the option. I think atheism is a better option than Islam. None of it makes sense, or like Judaism. Judaism is a much better option than Islam. Islam is, Muhammad was a very evil man. He was a wicked man. So why are you following a dude who's teaching wickedness when you could just be a Jew?
Which is
and actually serve Yahweh. Yeah, Islam is a Jewish religion. It's a Jewish cult. It's a syncretic Jewish, Christian, Gnostic, Zoroastrian cult.
Right.
Yeah, Islam awakened. Is what she said.
Yeah, Islam awakened. I'm there.
Yeah. You can't will unless Allah first wills. Is indeed the case. That is
Yes.
what Islam teaches. To deny that is you're now a kufar.
Right.
You're doing
Right.
bid'ah.
So, all right, let's move on. So we're done with Quran, 7630, nail in the coffin, right? We cannot will unless God first wills. And if the Muslim continues to argue with you about determinism, go ahead and open up Ibn Kathir's commentary, because he may be one of the most prolific when it comes to writing about determinism. He's very, very deterministic. His will has a real existence in Islam as his speech. His speech is ontologically, which includes everything that happens. Allah is dependent on creation. Yes.
Allah is dependent. Not only is Allah dependent on creation, Allah is dependent on Muhammad's uncle existing, because that's in his eternal speech. Because Surah, I think 111, talks about his uncle being cursed to hellfire. So Allah is contingent on Muhammad's uncle eventually existing.
Yeah, Gen Z Muslim, where exactly are churches closing? Just curious.
The UK.
The UK
Europe.
is actually seeing significant revival at the moment. Their
It
Anglican
is.
churches
Yeah.
are seeing closed doors, but many other denominations are seeing booms in the UK. Also, yeah. Anyways, let me go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so now on to the greatest,
I think we
extra,
have this
most
in our
bestest
notes.
hadith. So to Sahih Muslim 2662C, 2662C. All right, share this tab instead.
Yeah, we do have that in the notes.
Bingo, bango, bongo.
Hassar.
Yes, we also have Bukhari 6614 in the notes. Mule. So calm down.
We have a lot of notes for predestination. It's extensive. There's so much extensive of it.
So
yeah,
we have here. Let's just read it. It says, Aisha, the mother of the believers, said that Allah's messenger was called to lead the funeral prayer of a child of the Ansar. I said, Allah's messenger, Sallallahu, there is happiness for this child who is a bird from the birds of paradise, for it committed no sin, nor has he reached the age where one can commit sin. He, being the prophet, said, Aisha, peradventure, or maybe it could be otherwise. It may be otherwise. Because God created for paradise those who are fit for it, while they were yet in their father's loins, and created for hell those who are go to hell, he created them for hell while they were yet in their father's loins. So, for those of you, peradventure, yeah, no, that's what the God logic's thing. Yes, literally. In this hadith, we see very plainly that a child who died before the age of accountability may be in hell. He may be in hell. Now, there are certain other folks who believe this kind of nonsense. James White. About aborted children, which is one of the most diabolical doctrines that I've ever heard in my time. I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah, infant damnation and unborn damnation is just so wild, dude.
It's abominable.
Yeah, it's
stop
bad.
believing it.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's continue. So, but he's not saying every child is going to be in hell. No, only those who are fit for hell and those who are fit for heaven. Could you imagine dying as like a 3, 4, 5-year-old kid and then getting to Jannah and seeing 72 virgins? You're like, what does this mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, they would see all the naked women. They'd be like, Okay, because they don't have any concept of nudity yet.
I know. They're like, is this
Yeah,
mom?
they just walk around like, oh, food, and then start eating.
Right. Um,
Fact check: I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
So,
So
anyways, yes, this abominable doctrine, but let alone. So, I brought this up to Buddy Aladdin in our last conversation. He's he said "Oh no, we have other hadith which say that all children who die are birds of paradise." I'm like, I don't care. That's not what this one says. It's like you could have 5 billion other hadith that say that this one is wrong. That still doesn't change the fact that this is a Sahih narration. That would just mean your religion's contradictory, which, to be fair, it is already.
deeply.
I digress. This is crazy. Let's continue. So next one, Sahih Muslim 2650. This is another one that's really hard to refute. 2650. This is my favorite servant of Allah here. Um, this is Abu al Aswad. Um, he he reported that Imran bin Hussein asked him, "What is your view? What the people do today in the world and strive for, is it something decreed for them, or preordained for them, or will their fate in the hereafter be determined by the fact that their prophets brought them teaching which they did not act upon?" So, i.e., is everything preordained, or is their fate determined by the fact that they rejected the prophet's message? I said, of course, it is something which is predetermined. This is actually what I was trying to find earlier, Chris. It literally just dawned on me that I already had it in my notes. Anyway, let's continue. I said, of course, it is something
Went
which
to
is
the knee slapping
predetermined,
for no reason. Uh,
which is predetermined for them and preordained for them. He further said, then would it not be an injustice to punish them? I felt greatly disturbed because of that and said, everything is created by Allah and lies in his power. He would not be questioned as to what he does, but they would be questioned. Thereupon he said to me, may Allah have mercy upon you. I did not mean to ask you, but for testing your intelligence. 2 men of the tribe of Muzayna came to Allah's messenger and said, Allah's messenger, what is your opinion that the people do in the world and strive for? Is something decreed for them, something preordained for them, and will their fate in the hereafter be determined by the fact that their prophets brought them teachings which they did not act upon, and thus they became deserving of punishment? Thereupon he said, of course it happens as it is decreed by destiny and preordained for them. And this view is confirmed by the verse in the Book of Allah, the Exalted, and whatever. Consider the soul and him who made it perfect, then breathed into it its sin and its piety. Which is, I actually don't remember where that verse is at. What does that say?
51, 61, 61, 8.
61:8. Let's look at that
Yeah.
up.
Or 41, 8. I don't remember how
I
the
don't
XC
actually,
go together, but
yeah, I don't either.
oh, is C 20? L is 50. X is 10. What's
X is
C?
10. What is C? V is 5. X is
100.
10.
Okay, so it's 111.
Minus
8.
not 91. 91:8.
Oh,
Because it's
91. Because it's
10 minus
stupid.
90. Or
Yeah.
10 minus
Yeah.
100. Yeah. 91:8.
91, 8. There you go. Roman
91:8.
numerals 101.
I love Roman numeral. I have a very quick Roman numeral joke for you
I
guys,
hate
if
Roman
you wouldn't
numerals.
mind paying attention to me. So, one time a Greek man approached, a Greek man approached a seafaring merchant, and he said, "Hey, can I get 3 fish?" He said, "Whatever." He chopped the heads off, gave him the fish. A guy from Israel come up. He's like, "Hey man, can I get 4 fish?" Guy was like, "Absolutely." Chopped the heads off, give it to him. Guy from Rome came up. He said, "Can I get 5 fish?" Anyways, let's continue. 91. We'll just let that one sink in for those of you who don't understand. 91 verse 8. Because the Roman numeral for 5 is V.
This is a V.
Yeah. Anyways, use that on your friends. Okay, so this one, this is crazy. I'd like to share this with you
Uh,
actually. So this translation is deceptive. Ah, and
most
inspired
certainly.
it, which isn't what the word is, with discernment of, which is nowhere in the verse. Its wickedness
Mm-mm.
and its righteousness. So this translation is trying to say that God
Oh wait,
inspired you by being able to discern wickedness and righteousness. That's not
you're
what the
expecting the clear Quran? You're expecting the clear Quran to tell the truth?
I don't
You're
actually
on the
remember
wrong
which
translation for the
translation I have.
truth.
Well, where's Sahih International at? Is the one that I
The
usually use.
default. So hit the gear on the top right,
Yep. I have
then go translation second tab. I think
uh, font style, font size, reciter.
at the bottom of it. It'll be at the very bottom. Oh, go to the second tab. It's
Oh,
translation at the
translation.
top.
There it is. So
And then
yeah,
you
it's Sahih
can.
International. Okay.
Sahih what? That's
That's
crazy.
terrible. This is just a bad translation of this verse. So it's literally and breathed into it.
فألهمها.
I can't actually even hear it, but it's and breathed into it
I
its
could hear it,
wickedness and its righteousness. Oh, so you got. Oh,
dude.
that's because I don't have
Oh,
it
you want
set.
to do?
I
You
don't
want
have
to do
it
my
set.
favorite?
Sorry.
My favorite. My favorite cancellation
فألهمها.
on
Got it. Sorry.
Quran.com is Surah 1 Al-Fatiha, ayah 7. Can you go? Can you open that up real quick?
Yes, I
Hey,
can.
go to 1-7 real quick. This is by far my favorite. So if you click like the first word, for example, um, it's just like
صراط
that's just a normal one. Okay, you know, click the last one real quick.
الضالين.
Why?
That's
I know
Tajweed.
why. It's because it's the Tajweed. It's how they sing it. But it's a lot of these words don't actually have the Tajweed attached to it. Whenever it's just like supposed to be the pronunciation, for whatever reason, there's a few of them that just have incredibly long Tajweed in the actual like whenever you click that word itself. And Al Fatiha is like one of the only ones that do it, and it's so much fun. So I have that as like a soundbite that I just play for people. I accidentally discovered that last year whenever we started the Islamic Dilemma project.
Sorry, I need to see which one of these.
Abdul Ali.
I need to see which one of these translations is any good. So 91 verse 8. And with the knowledge of right and wrong inspired it, then inspired it with its instance of evil and piety, inspired it with its wickedness and its righteousness, and inspired it to know. He showed him what is wrong. Ali Khan just lying on the Quran, and imbued it with the consciousness of its evil and piety. Dude, none of these translations are any good. I feel like Sahih International is just a product of its time. But anyways, yeah. So you can see here in Sahih, it says, "Consider the soul and he who made it, then breathed into it its sin and its piety." That's what it should actually say, unless I'm wrong. And Too Many Marys can absolutely correct me if it doesn't mean that, but I'm pretty sure that's what the Arabic actually says. It could even be inspired it with
He caused the
wickedness and
wickedness and its
righteousness.
righteousness.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Which
but
is
anyways,
part of the hadith as well. Like, all of the adultery you'll ever commit in your life has already been portioned to you by Allah before you were created. So all your good deeds and all of your wicked deeds are already apportioned to you, which then contradicts some of the other hadith that are more rabbinic when it talks about how like if you want to do something good, you don't do it, it's counted as one good deed for you. If you want to do something bad but you don't do it, it's counted as one good deed for you. If you want to do something good and you do it, it's 10 good deeds counted to you. And if you want to do something bad and you do the bad thing, it's only counted as one bad deed to you. And the idea is if your book is heavier on the day of judgment, you're going to be saved. If it's lighter, you're going to go to hell. And the weight, like the good deeds become physical weight on judgment day, and then the bad deeds like subtract from it. So that's all rabbinic. That's like a Jewish idea that's in Islam, within both the
right.
Quran and the Hadith. But then that contradicts that. It contradicts a variety of other things because Islam is a incoherent mess.
Right.
So
For those of you who are watching who may or may not be in my fantasy league, Jackson Smith and Jigma definitely got hurt, and you should totally sell him to me for free because he's not going to make you any points. Anyways,
dude,
um,
a Quran pirate version.
it would probably make the Quran more clear, oddly enough.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I feel like
What
Muhammad
if I want
probably
to-
talked like a pirate, you know? I guess he was robbing the caravans, just like our.
Army matey, give me your booty and your booty.
Both. And those your right hand possesses. Anyways, let's continue.
I gotta
Ibn Majah 91. This is a good one too. This one is actually very helpful in discussion. It is narrated that Sirach bin Jusham said, I said, O Messenger of Allah, is one's deed in that which has already dried of the pen and what has passed of the divine decree, or is it in the future? He said, no, it is in that which he already dried of the pen and what has passed of the divine decree, and each person is facilitated for what he has been created. So each person is, yes. Anyways, yeah. So the dried pen is a good one to bring up because you say, well, man, we got 37. You say, well, it's not as though your actions actually matter, right? The pen is already dried.
Right.
If you say, oh, well, no, it's just recording what you were going to do. Well, actually, Muhammad at the end there says, and each person is facilitated for what he has been created. So you were created for a particular thing. I am a Christian right now. And this is so weird to say, but even if Islam, by some stretch of the imagination, is true, Chris and I are both Christians because Allah doesn't want us. If Allah ends up somehow being true, there's nothing we can do about it anyways.
Yep.
So let's continue. That's not even the best one. 2645A. 2645A. The Books of Destiny.
Do you not think Allah has whiteout? Come on, be realistic. Nope, he does not have whiteout. He's not powerful enough to white out.
Bro, you do. If the Christians disrespected the Muslims in Lebanon, they'd be wiped the heck out, dog.
Yeah. Lebanese Christians are hanging on by a thread. It used to be a Christian majority country, then all the Muslims invaded. Wow, I wonder what happened with all the wars that were happening that made my friend flee Lebanon to Canada, because Canada is actually a safe place, unlike every Muslim country on the planet.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's getting
Anyway.
worse, but you know.
Yeah.
What up, Gadfly?
The skeeziest sleaze of the seven sleaze.
All right.
Oh, hello.
What up? So, 2645A. Let's read. It says,
I didn't want to be annoying, but you hadn't added me on, so I was just checking my Twitter, and then I heard sleaziest sleaze of the seven seas. I'm like, oh, maybe he's letting me in now. So I checked. Here I am. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
You're good.
I'm
You're
gonna
good.
get some water and pee.
Introduce me. What is the topic that this hadith is relevant to?
Proving that Islam teaches exhaustive divine determinism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyways, let's continue. Yes, Hezbollah does shoot from churches, unfortunately. All right. So it says here, you missed a lot of proof texts, but we'll we're
Well,
we're
if
not
Muhammad
even
said
halfway
this, we
through
only
it.
need the one, so
True,
you're good.
True. All right. It says Abdullah bin Masud reported, "Evil one is he who is evil in the womb of his mother, and the good one is he who takes a lesson from the fate of others," which I don't even know what those two things have to do with each other, but let's continue. The narrator came to a person from amongst the companions of Allah's messenger. So Masud came to a companion of Allah's messenger who was called Hudhaifa bin Usaid Khifari and said, "How can a person be an evil one without committing an evil deed?" Thereupon the person said to him, "You are surprised at this? Whereas I have heard Allah's messenger as saying, when 42 nights pass after the semen gets into the womb, Allah sends the angel and gives him shape. Then he creates a sense of hearing, sense of sight, his skin, his flesh, his bones, and then says, 'My Lord, would he be male or female?' And your Lord decides as he desired." I like how it's decided whether he would be male or female after he's already got skin and flesh and bones. Anyways, and your Lord decides as he desires, and the angel then puts down that also, and then says, "My Lord, what about his age?" And your Lord decides as he likes it, and the angel puts
What
it
age
down.
would you pick? It's
Then he
0.
says, I know
It's
that
not
was
even-
always really funny to me. It's like, what do you mean, what age? I think it's
Did-
what age
does
is he
the
gonna
angel have
die
to
at?
ask every single time? So, I don't know, Law. Should we make this one come out 80? No, let's do it a newborn again, like we did last time. Okay. I feel kind of silly asking every time, Allah. Should I keep
Yeah.
asking? Yeah, just keep asking. It's a tradition.
So, first of all, dude, the Crusades were facilitated by Muslims. World War I was not caused by Christianity. World War II was not caused by Christianity. The transatlantic slave trade was actually facilitated by other black people and Muslims. The Spanish Inquisition was done because y'all were invading mainland Europe.
World War II was done in the name of Christianity. Like that.
That,
World War One. What's this guy on?
I don't
Dude,
know.
you've just been lied to about so many different things. You don't know history, you don't know reality, and you don't know Islam.
Do you want to go massacre for massacre, dude? Because we can do this all day. Like, I admit
Oh,
that
yeah.
Christians have done bad things. There were some certain things that were done to the Donatists back in the day. Those were Christians that were done by other Christians. Like, they were executing these people, and they were Christians. So it's like, dude, I completely
Also,
understand.
the slave trade was Muslims selling it to Europeans.
Right. Yeah, Muslims facilitated the transatlantic slave trade 100%.
Well,
Right.
even like, so by pointing out that you're trying to imply that slavery's bad, right?
In your
Oh,
Quran,
he also-
Where does the
forbids it.
idea that slavery's bad come from? Doesn't come from Islam. That comes from
No,
Christianity.
Islam actively assumes and teaches that you'll have slaves.
There's no
But
prohibition on slavery in Islam.
Dude, Muslims have just tortured and raped more Christian women than any other group in history.
I
Not even
did
close.
my thesis on Sirat Rasulullah, which is the earliest, most complete biography of the life of Muhammad, and it
Wicked.
glorifies and makes it seem beautiful. Jihad, like killing in the name of the religion, and the only requirement is that you invite them to Islam first. If they say no, you can kill them, and you're supposed to kill them, and you're supposed to spread it all over the world. So don't even talk about anything having to do with morality or slavery or conquest, because you sound ridiculous. Okay, well, what are we talking about? So we're talking about determinism.
Yeah. I also really like this idea that American soldiers cited the Bible as their justification for invading Iraq, as if the American soldiers had anything to do with that. They were just following orders, bro. Also, do you want to know the sort of things that they found Muslims doing in Iraq?
I don't want to know. I don't want
Oh,
to know.
I know. I've seen it. Yeah.
Here we go again.
I don't want to talk about it, but what I'm saying is, like, you have to understand there's so much footage online of the insane things that Muslims were doing. Like, there was
Still
a guy
do.
who was on the Sean
Every day.
Ryan podcast who was
All over
he
the
was
world.
either a Navy SEAL or a Marine, and he talks about how he was doing special ops in the Middle East, and he's like, I don't even want to describe to you some of the things that I witnessed these people partaking in. He was like,
Yeah.
I had no guilt pulling the trigger.
Yep.
He was like, those people needed to go.
What are
Boys, girls, animals.
What's
women,
our end result
men.
with the argument with Islam with determinism? Is it an argument against Islam, or are we just trying to show that
No,
it's
it's an
deterministic?
argument against Islam. I'm not sure
So
if you're familiar with the rationality argument.
so let's
Christianity has that.
assume that it is deterministic. Now, where does that lead to it being false?
Right. So, well, I got a couple more hadith that I would like to
Oh,
read.
okay, yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. So 2644 is another. Dang nabbit, I missed the express. 2644. I'll be quick for these. I don't want to take too much time. But it says Hudhaifa bin Usaid reported directly from Allah's messenger that he said, when the drop of semen remains in the womb for 40 or 45 nights, the angel comes and says, my Lord, will you be good or evil? Most of these things would be written, and the angel says, but good or evil, notice. It would be male or female, and then both these things are written, and his deeds, his actions, his death, his livelihood, these are also recorded. Then his document of destiny is rolled, and there's no addition to nor subtraction from it. We have Sahih Bukhari 49:49. I will. It says. Oh, yeah, this one's not too long.
Too Many Marys, are you wanting to come on? I wouldn't mind if she came on and shared whatever it is. I don't want to try to read what she's talking about. I have a good argument, by the way. Sounds like a pod racer name.
It's when you deny Qadar, when you deny determinism within Islam. It's the title of someone who denies Qadar is a Qadariya.
So it says, narrated Ali, while the Prophet was in a funeral procession, he picked up something and started scraping the ground with it and said, there is none among you, but has his place written for him either in hell, fire, or in paradise. They said, O Allah's messenger, shall we not depend upon what has been written for us and give up good deeds? So this is a valid question here. If we're going to hell or heaven either way, why should we even care about what we do?
I sent it, Mary.
He said, carry on doing good deeds, for everybody will find easy to do such deeds as will lead him to his destined place for which he has been created. So he who is destined to be among the happy in the hereafter will find it easy to do the deeds characteristic of such people, while he who is destined to be among the miserable ones will find it easy to do the deeds characteristic of such people. Then he recited, as for him who gives in charity and fears Allah and believes in them.
So is your goodness and badness then just part of your ontology in Islam?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's interesting. That's like Gnosticism. In Gnosticism, you're either a product of the remembrance of the fallen Aeon, Sophia, or Logos, or you're a creation of Yaldabaoth. And so whether you're good or not, like whether you end up, what's interesting is it looks like you have the free choice of picking Gnosticism, but whether or not you pick Gnosticism is deterministically set by whether you're created by the Pleroma or by the Demiurge.
Yeah. The Torah, the Talmud, sorry. The Talmud also has that exact 40-day, once the 40 days are happening after the fluids mix, God will write all things about you in the book, and that will be given to the angel. So that whole description in the Hadith there is almost like a paraphrase of the Talmud on the same topic.
It's like a Skyrim character creator. He's sitting there making you however.
Right.
You're going to be a stealth archer. Yeah.
Or like, yeah, Fallout, where it's like, anyways. So it says in Bukhari 66:14, narrated Abu Huraira, the Prophet said, Adam and Moses argued with each other. Moses said to Adam, O Adam, you are our father who disappointed us and turned us out of paradise. Then Adam said to him, O Moses, Allah favored you with his talk, i.e. talked to you directly, and he wrote the Torah for you with his own hand. And one time he caused a rock to run away from you with your garment so that you would run naked through the camp of the Israelites. And says, do you blame me for action which Allah had written in my fate 40 years before my creation? So Adam confuted Moses.
So if that argument works,
the Prophet added, repeating the statement 3 times.
You could use that. That's why I'm a kuffar, because it was ordained before I was born. And so the only reaction should be that anyone attacking me for it is confuted.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If they're
going against the law.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said to Chris. So Now, Gadfly asks a fantastic question. Chase, what the heck does this have to do with Islam being false? Well, I'll tell you. So now that we have thoroughly proven that Islam is deterministic, I would like to present to you the argument from rationality. Here it goes. So, under theistic determinism, God is the ultimate sufficient cause of every human belief. Now, let's break that down. What does it mean to be the ultimate sufficient cause of every human belief? Well, it means that without God, there would be no other cause to bring about the action or the effect, right? So the cause is God, the effect is every human belief. There is no in between, there is no secondary causation. Under theistic determinism, it is God caused you to believe what you believe, and without his cause, you cannot do anything or believe anything. Now, let's continue. For a person to rationally believe in proposition P, their believing proposition P must be appropriately explained by their grasp of the reasons and evidence for P. Now, let's break this down. Rationality. What is rationality? What's the idea? To be able to reason, right? So to be able to take things, to be able to understand things, to deduct meaning from things. This is rationality, the meaning of things, right? So if you rationally believe proposition P, that means that you came to proposition P because you rationally examined the evidence, and that's where it led you, right? Well, we have a problem. If God's determining decree is the sufficient explanation of the belief, then the person's grasp of reasons and evidence is not the ultimate explanatory ground of that person's belief. Let this sink in. Let's continue. If the agent's appreciation of reasons, rationality, does no real explanatory work in producing the belief, then the agent does not genuinely believe on the basis of reasons. Okay, that should be pretty self-explanatory. Next point, if no one ever believes on the basis of reasons, then no human belief is ever rationally justified. Now here's the conclusion. The conclusion is that theistic determinism is itself a human belief. Therefore, if theistic determinism is true, belief in theistic determinism is not rationally justified. So there's that.
You have no reason to believe in anything.
If your
Determinisms.
if your belief in Islam is based on nothing, if your belief in Islam is based on nothing but Allah's divine decree, and not your own reasons or the evidence for said thing, then you can't actually say that you believe in Islam because of reasons. You just believe in it because you're determined to. So this makes, the reason why this is such a powerful argument is because it makes the conversation blow up. Because if reasons and evidence have nothing to do with why you should believe in Islam, then why believe anything?
I've got a couple better ones for you. Want some even crazier ones?
Go ahead.
So, when Moses and Adam are getting a little tiff, they're getting in a little fight in Jannah, because apparently we have fights at Jannah, right?
Right, of course.
Right.
And what does Moses says to Adam that you're, that you're worse, that you're bad, because you are the reason that we have all fallen. And Adam's reply is, why do you hold me accountable for that which Allah ordained for me before my creation?
Yep.
Then it furthermore, in a number of the renditions, it says, and thus Adam refuted Moses.
Right.
So that means that Adam cannot be held morally responsible for a sin that he has committed that Allah ordained for him. I ask you, Muslims, what sins do you commit that Allah has not ordained for you, that he has not written in the book of life for you? When the angel comes down and writes down everything that you do, is there anything that is not ordained for you to do? So according to Islam's own internal logic, such as it is, then no one can possibly be responsible for any act that they have done because Allah has chosen it for them before they were even created.
Right.
You're sick. You're sick.
Now, here's an even worse one
Right.
that makes Allah even stupider and more impossible. Okay?
Mm.
So Allah, one of his attributes is his speech. And before anything else is created, what does he do? There's some questions about certain things, whether or not it's true or not true, or, what's created when, what's uncreated. Maybe he was hovering over the waters in some clouds, so those clouds could have been created and the water could have been created. But anyway, among things that Allah either created or then failed to create was the pen. And then he created or failed to create that which upon the pen wrote. And then the pen put Allah's full speech down. And his speech consisted of everything that was to ever happen. That means all humanity and every action, including my speaking now. My speaking now was determined by Allah and existed within his speech before creation. And therefore, Allah's truth and Allah's existence as having his speech such that it is, that he's not falsified, he is constrained into creation and dependent upon creation, which violates one of the very basic things about what Allah is. To be God, you are the uncaused cause. But his speech is something that impels him. His speech, its form is dependent upon creation having happened, upon all these people having done things, absolutely everything. I'm saying Allah as an nanner, pee poo, poo poo, poo poo. And if I don't say that, then Allah could not have eternally existed, which means that he is dependent on what I'm doing right now. If I go blah, 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 that enables Allah to exist. Therefore, he's no God. It's a guy who had heat stroke too many times out in a desert, making things up as he goes along, and he suffered very badly from bipolar disorder. So when he was up, everything was high, and when he was down, everything was down. And I have many more examples of why it is that fate must be part of Islam, that it cannot be denied, that this is true of Allah, because it's a speech. It is his eternal attribute, which is distinct from everything else. Does his speech fail? I mean, some of his attributes fail. If you're a Salafi, some of his attributes fail because his wrath is overcome with his mercy. So he has stupid, poor, pathetic, weak little wrath that can't do anything against his mercy. It's like, oh, I'm mad. And mercy's like, no, you sit down. And then the wrath goes, okay, all right, fine, I'll go in the corner. You're stronger than me. But if you're not a Salafi, you don't actually say that he has wrath.
You could say Allah's mercy confuted his wrath, in the words of Moses.
Indeed.
You know what's super interesting about that? Bittersweet Rabah actually talks about how judgment and mercy got in a fight. And they actually started arguing about what they should do with humans. So God's mercy and God's judgment became like tangible and could speak, and were arguing about what to do. And then that ends up in Islam, basically.
There's going to be a lot of arguing in Jannah. What's the name of their heaven? Jannah.
There's
going to be a lot of arguing up there because you got Adam and Moses, and then you got Allah's mercy and his wrath. And there's also going to be Daniel, Hakikachu, and Farid. And they're going to be in the bodies of green birds just barking at each other for all eternity.
They have to be killed for that. But
yeah, they'd have to be killed for that. But if they die from a stomach illness, that will count. Maybe they were trying to make Muhammad.
It's true.
Just Taco Bell.
That, but Taco Bell. You have bad Taco Bell and you die from it, then
you could have good White Castle and die from good White Castle.
I'm not
only if a Jew gave it to you.
I'm not super curious, but I kind of feel compelled to ask. If you're in the body of a green bird, how do you enjoy the houris?
Well, you're only in the green
birds can still
have before the resurrection.
Uh-huh.
Well, Allah actually, Muhammad is not in a green bird because you can walk over to his grave and you can talk to him in his grave. So you can do necromancy in Islam as long as you're near Muhammad, even if you're Salafi. So Salafis can do necromancy, but they can only do necromancy like really close. They can't do it from a far distance. Other divisions, they let you do necromancy at any time, but you can only talk to Muhammad if he's right there and he can hear you at his grave. Either that or maybe his ears just transmit things to
Didn't
to
have
his
very
body.
many.
But
Didn't have very many bars.
Yeah, well, if you are if you are a jihadi, you get removed from the grave so you aren't tormented anymore, because otherwise you're horribly tortured in the grave, right? So you get removed from your body so you don't have to fear any torment from the grave, even if you get pee on yourself, which is the main cause, of course, of torment in the grave, is accidentally getting a little pee on your leg. I mean, considering babies, they're all the Muslims are in trouble because they get pee on themselves all the time. But actually, so.
The invention.
I think that's actually Jewish as well, by the way.
So Greenbird mode is just it's a temporary thing, and then you evolve into a resurrected body at the final resurrection.
What's really interesting is that jihadis are special because everybody else gets whole bodies without any wounds, but jihadis, their wounds are all still there. They just ooze musk. So if you blow yourself to lots of pieces, then I guess they glue all the little bitty pieces, and you're just like oozing musk and ambergris and all this stinky perfume everywhere. And anywhere you go.
Mary, you know where that idea came from? So there was actually a record in Eusebius of a Christian martyr who, okay, let's pause for a minute. When a Muslim says martyr and when a Christian says martyr, it's two totally different things. Muslim martyr is somebody who goes and screams and tries to chop people and gets killed.
And then ends up as human sacrifice, right? It's an actual
a Christian martyr has not tried to kill anybody. They're just killed for their faith. Okay, so very, very different. There's a story of a Christian martyr, Eusebius, who, when he's being tortured, his blood smells like perfume. And when I read that, and then the story about the blood smelling like perfumes also in Surat Rasul Allah. And so when I noticed, I was like, holy crap, that looks like it was taken from the story of these martyrs, these Christian martyrs from Eusebius. So I think that's where it originates.
Yeah, it's mixing up a whole bunch of ideas about that. But imagine being stuck, being a wife of one of these guys, like you were a great Muslima and your husband sucked or he divorced you, so he dies and he goes to hellfire, and maybe he gets rescued by a Jewish or Christian who gets thrown in hellfire in his place, but he only gets stuck at the bottom level, right? Because he sucks. But you are a good Muslima and you actually really deserve to be there. And so you get married to someone of your level. You are like a super duper trooper Muslima. For example, you gave birth to a bunch of children, sent them out into war, and they all got killed. And so you get like extra bonus points for that. So now you are married to the top of the top, which means a jihadi. So now your husband not only has many, many wives, way more than 72, right? And you look like a little girl because, all the houris, all the women there will look like about, 10, 11-year-old little girls with barely budding breasts. And you have a hymen that he rips through whenever he wants to have intercourse with you, because, women, what women should value is being pristine, and they should hate being violated. Except they should also want it because it's attention from their husband. It's the only time he gives them attention. But anyway, the guy who is doing this to you when you finally make it to the front of the line ends up being someone who blew himself up to kill thousands of people because you're a super Muslima. So now he's in all of these little bitty pieces that are just glued together and just oozing stuff that's sticky. And it smells sweet, but kind of cloying, the sticky cloying scent all over you all the time. So, I mean, that's the best of the best. But you get gold dishes. Other people only get silver. So,
The descriptions of the houris, not only the young, but they have like black eyes and their skin is so pale that it's translucent where you can see their bones.
Yeah.
So I made an image of one on Grok. It was a horrible look. It looks like a monster.
They're also,
you posted that in the Islamic Dilemma server, yeah.
Everybody's like super, super tall. So they're like, because if Adam was so tall when he got thrown down out of heaven that his head actually scraped the heaven, which is 500 years away, because apparently we measure distance now in time. And, people were like, hey, Allah, you forgot to make him smaller. He's going to damage Jannah. So he shrunk him down to only 90 cubits. So in Jannah, everybody's going to be
90.
Expanded to giants again. So they're going to be tiny little girls compared to the absolutely enormous men, but they will all be giants. They will be young prepubescent girl giants. So
For the time distance thing, that's actually very common in the ancient world. Whenever you go past like if you're talking about a journey, you would always talk about the amount of time it takes to get there. So like a year is the amount of time it takes to walk in a year's time.
yeah,
It's not a very accurate distance. Like the only group that I am aware of back then that actually had like a distance for like a considerable distance is like the Persians, and they came up with
Romans.
parasangs, and the Romans.
Yeah,
So you had like the old
Romans-
mile, and you have parasangs.
The Romans never
That's
met
about it.
something that they didn't want to count.
Okay,
They
but
didn't
here's
want
the
what?
problem.
They had laws about it too.
Wait. So if it's 500 years away, I could ride a horse at a gallop for 500 years, and I wouldn't even be close to like halfway to the sun. So you're telling me that Jenna is closer
Yes.
to Earth
sun,
than the
yes.
sun?
Yes.
And the planets and the stars.
All
Like,
of
there's
them. Oh yeah.
some
Un-
debates about
other
that
than,
as well.
Yeah, other than like maybe one or two planets at certain times of the year.
Let's
Yeah,
just
their
do-
cosmology is very dumb.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I could get a horse to go like 35 miles an hour.
Who says
500
horse?
years
He
at
just says
35.
probably it's walking.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm giving
Yeah.
the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, let's say
Dude,
it's
you
a
could just take, like, a
35-mile-an-hour
spaceship,
horse.
get there in an
24
hour.
hours, 365 times 500. So that would actually get you a whole 153,000 miles. So how close is Mars?
That's
40.
I think
Way,
that's close to
way
the
closer.
moon. Isn't the moon about 100?
The moon, I think, is closer than that.
So Mars is 140 million miles, whereas this is just this is 153 million. So it's just beyond.
Yeah,
it's like
that's-
the asteroid belt approximately. So Jenna, if it's a really 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 fast horse that's just going 24 miles an hour for forever and ever, asteroid belt is the first Jenna, so that absolutely does mean that the Oort cloud is beyond where Allah is, because he's at the fifth heaven, and each one is 500 years apart. So,
The
but
moon's
Allah has to come down
Pluto might be
in the
closer.
last third of the night to collect the prayers that the angels are writing down. Right?
The
So-
moon's 238,855 miles away. So
Okay,
you
hang
might
on.
be able to. That might be where China is.
You could fly past. Okay, so the fastest horse ever went about 44 miles an hour. So I was generous. I said 40 miles an hour for 500 years. That's
Right, that's still
that's
walking instead of
just
horses.
over
but yeah.
175 million
Million.
miles.
Yeah.
Right.
So
You
so
could
that-
you could go past the sun. Wait, hang on. You could fly past the sun, as the average distance from the Earth to the sun is about 93 million miles.
Yeah, but you wouldn't even reach
It
Jupiter.
would nearly be double that distance, making it almost a round trip. So you could almost make it to where the Earth would be on the other side of the sun at every given time of year.
Yeah, but if you're going the other direction, you wouldn't even make it to Jupiter. So if
Real.
Allah's like out that direction, you're in big trouble. So
Right.
that would be the first heaven. But even for all the other heavens, again,
Well-
I don't think you would make it past our poor demoted planet.
We do
Pluto,
know that.
distance to Pluto.
We do know that.
Yeah, it's 3.2 billion miles. So Jenna is much closer than Pluto. Everybody, just in case you're wondering.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. We do also know that Allah never leaves the lowest heaven because He always has to hear the prayers of the people.
No,
So
no,
he's
he
always there.
descends to it. He descends to it, but he's supposed to live in the last part, the fifth heaven. So that means my question is: does Allah follow our time zones? So he descends and ascends 24 hours, or is he not constrained by this and instead constrained by the natural last third of the night? In which case, he is at all
never
times
leaves.
having to descend, but he also simultaneously is above his throne in the fifth heaven. So,
Right.
Maybe this
There's
is
also
like,
7 Earths.
yeah,
They're all flat and stacked on top of each other on top of a whale.
pancake Earths. Can't forget
Yeah.
the pancake Earths. And I think
It
that
sounds
they
like a
might be
Dr. Seuss
500.
book.
Yeah, they might be.
Islam is
What's
You
like
said
Cat in the
500
Hat,
years?
where he has like a rake
Well,
on a cake, on
100
a
years apart.
chew,
Yeah.
on a whatever.
100 years apart.
So they might also be 500 years apart, but I'm not really sure. And just to be clear, there's a Muhammad on each of the earths. I don't know why there need to be 5 earths, because there's 5 of everything on each earth, and you just redo all the stuff. It's just really dumb. And now our friendly Muslim is campaigning for the mass extermination of the Jews.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
literally
Thank you.
genocide.
That's
He's
insane.
praising genocide. Good
That's
job.
insane.
You are in favor of genocide.
Yep.
But we're the ones that are hateful. Cool.
Well, he told me that that Christians and Muslims live in total peace in Lebanon. And I'm like, no, they don't. And told him, I gave an example. He's like, oh, well, that was just Christians picking on the poor, innocent Muslims. I'm like, so you knew you were lying about them living in happy peace? So.
When did the UN say Israel is committing genocide?
And you're also
To be
you're
fair-
using a slogan that means the death of Jews.
Yep.
To be fair, the UN has openly said that jihadist terrorist organizations are committing, violent, horrific crimes. And we won't talk about that.
Yeah, such as Hamas.
So studies in religion says that Allah must be on Meccan time, but that would mean that only people who are lined up with Mecca would get their prayers gathered properly, because you're supposed to get extra special bonus points for praying in the last third of the night.
Yeah,
Because Allah is coming to gather your prayers.
Mhm.
So, yeah, you know what? I do not care what happens in Palestine. Let me put this on the record. Do not care what happens to Palestine until the Palestinians let go the last of the slaves that they bought from the Syrians. Let them go. Get rid of your rape slaves. Then I might shed a tear. Until then, those communities are protecting the slaveholders. So I have no sympathy for people who are protecting the holders of rape slaves. None. So sorry, cry me a river. Especially when you're killing your own children trying to get sympathy. Because if you kill your children and get it counted as a jihad, then your children will bring you to Jannah. So literally doing child sacrifice. So literally doing child sacrifice.
Yeah, I don't know.
So Bean brought up this comment earlier I wanted to talk about. So I don't understand why we need books written with our deeds before we were born, and then have 2 angels to record our deeds while we live.
Just
Well, in the
bloated
Talmud, those are
bureaucracy.
two different rabbinic opinions. So like Rabbi Elazar came up with one of them, and Rabbi Yohanan came up with the other one. So there's just 2 rabbis that came up with this stuff, and then he added both, or Muslims added both.
The 2
and then they'd
angels are just
contradict.
I freaking hate this job, man.
Well, here's the thing. I have a question for you guys.
So
Can
redundant.
angels be present if you have a dog in the house?
No,
No.
right?
So if I want to say murder a whole bunch of people and I don't want it to count against me, so I don't want it recorded in my book of deeds, all I have to do is bring a dog
Just
with
keep
me.
a dog
And
with
I'm
you.
just
Got a
good.
lawyer
There you
over
go.
I
here.
am good. Now,
That's
also,
a loophole.
can angels see naked women?
Guess
No.
Like
God.
Jin can, because Jin
No,
has
because
sex with-
Khadijah,
Yeah.
Khadijah, she uncovered herself, and then Jibril turned away. He went away
So
because he didn't want to look at
Again.
his nakedness,
yeah.
or her nakedness.
If you want to do
Yeah.
something horrible to a woman, all you have to do is get her naked first, and the angels can't do anything. And if you, as a woman,
true.
want to do something terrible, you just strip naked, and then you just start going at people with a knife. And Allah can't do anything about it because He's dependent on those stupid
Your angel
recording angels, and they really suck at their jobs.
Yep.
And if you're a dude and you
It's
don't
true.
have a woman handy, you can just get like a poodle or maybe a couple of small dogs and duct tape them to your body, and then you can just
Yeah.
go wherever you want.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah,
and
and
then,
then-
another question: there are jinn just teeming in all of your toilets and bathrooms. In fact, it has been strongly recommended that you not pour boiling water down the drains because you will scald the jinn, because they're toilet jinn, right? So they live in your plumbing system and your sink is connected to your toilet. If you pour boiling water down your sink, it is the correct Islamic opinion of Islamic scholars who are very knowledgeable and these very intelligent and logical things, that if you pour boiling water into your sink, you will burn the jinn.
Wait, aren't jinn bad guys though?
No, some of them
No,
Toilet jinns are good guys then.
Well,
jinn are just humans that are spirit beings.
So boiling water's a problem, but flushing crap on them all day is not a problem?
Well, they like crap.
Yeah, they like the crap. They don't like the boiling water. But they only like crap when it's in the latrine. If you get crap on their food, they're very upset. So if you need to wipe your butt outside,
it's a very specific fetish. Yeah.
If you need to wipe your butt outside, you cannot use dried poo, because it's dirty, and you cannot use bones because it's the food of the jinn. And so the jinns that live in your latrine are really offended if you get poo on their bones that they eat, because they want to eat nice clean food and then go live in your latrine. So, but
raise your hand if you would never wipe your butt with a bone.
So definitely have never done that. Yeah. So can angels see you if you're in the latrine? No, they can't see you if you're in the bathroom. So Allah also cannot record anything. So if any man who like kills his wife in the bathroom, drowns her in the tub or whatever, he's out scot-free. Those angels couldn't get in there and record him because he's in that toilet with the jinn. Apparently jinn like really scare angels, because the places that they are, angels seem to have a hard time being, because angels also will ride your penis and have sex with your wife instead of you if you don't say the right.
Well, jinn will, not angels.
Yeah, jinn will. So I'm saying, so jinn will obviously see naked women, or else they couldn't ride men's penises to have sex with women. So it seems like jinn, wherever jinn are, angels just aren't able to be, because they're weak and pathetic. You know, Allah's angels just really suck. And any place the jinn is, the angel's like, oh, can't go there. So, you know, if you want to do sins, that would really help you out. You have all these strategies to get away with it.
Okay, so, Mary, I got to ask your pardon, but I got to hear this from Chris. So we have a tradition on this stream where, when it's relevant, weird stories pop up. And I would like to ask Chris, what is the weirdest thing you've ever wiped your butt with after a poop?
Oh, nah.
Ooh, I have some good ones. But before the poop story, almost everything Mary just said is from the Talmud and from random rabbinic opinions. So like even all that, but it's not about jinn, it's about shaitans. So they use the word shaitan instead, but it's exactly the same. If you go read, me and Chase actually did a 5-hour stream on that exact topic. With the first stream I ever did with him. We talked about demonology and Judaism and how it relates to Islam. And
however, I don't think that jinn, or that devils, satans and stuff in the very folklorish, outlandish Talmudic sources, that they do things like play with your butthole and make you think you farted. And I don't think that they pee in your ears, and I don't think that they live in your nose.
Yes.
And they also don't run away farting.
That's Muhammad superstition.
So
well, they do run away whenever you do the blast of the trumpet, because it confuses them. I think he just added the farting.
Right. That he wants to.
The rest of it's Jewish, just the farting's new.
Because he really likes butt stuff.
He really does. I wonder why. Maybe because the zut ingrained it inside of him. But
so now by the way, now we have a Muslim saying that the child killing is not allowed like it is in the Bible. No, not only is child killing allowed, slaughter. The only reason Muhammad wants to keep the children of infidels alive is to sell them. That's it. To sell them or have sex with them or both. Right? Because they're worth money. But if you happen to slaughter them all, he's fine with that. He has no problem with that. It's just like, well, is it really wise if you could sell them? But when it comes to killing your own children, that is absolutely ingrained in Islam. Because if you send your children out to die through jihad, they don't have to kill anybody. They don't have to do anything that's worth anything. They just have to die in something that's considered jihad-like. They will bring you to heaven no matter what you do. So all you have to do is you have to throw your child into a child army, hope he dies, and then boom, ticket to heaven for you, because it's a child sacrifice religion.
It's not called
So
the infantry for nothing. Anyways, continue.
There's a really interesting story of Muhammad, because one of the tribes that he
Well,
slaughtered,
first,
one of the last tribes of the
nope, you
Jews.
can't escape. Sorry, no. You need to tell me about the weirdest thing you've ever wiped your butt with after a poop.
Ha!
Maybe a water bottle or a stick.
I used a banana
And obviously
leaf one time on
leaves.
a mission trip. There's
Yeah,
no
I've used leaves,
toilet
lots of
paper.
leaves.
Banana leaf is gross. It's like slimy.
I've done
Better
it
than
with,
a bone,
dirt on my
though.
hand
I'd rather use. You used your hand? No.
with dirt on it. Yeah,
Oh gosh.
Oh well, that makes it clean,
get a
right?
sandy, dirty butthole. Yes, according to both the Jews and the Muslims.
Right.
Wonder where the Muslims got it from.
You know what? Looking up something that's fictional that Muslims lied and made up won't help anybody. Sorry. Just so you know,
So-
if you look up something that's fictional, it just makes you look stupid.
This is one of the favorite stories I've heard about Muhammad. Mary, you can tell me if this is if you've heard this as well. So there is a tradition that I've not been able to find yet, but I heard from a reliable source that apparently, according to one of either the Sirah or the other like tafsir traditions, Muhammad, on one of the tribes that he slaughtered, he ordered that the boys not be killed. In order to check if they were men or not, he went around and checked all of their junk to count their pubes.
Yep.
And then if they had pubes, he then would kill them. And if they didn't have pubes, he wouldn't kill them. So like imagine Muhammad for like 100 or so like teenagers or boys or going around and like closely examining all of their junks in a line, just back to back to back to back. And then he kills the ones who are like 13 years old. And that's the guy that we're talking about here.
Yep.
Yep. They're also worth way more when they're younger because, you know, they're worth more for sex. And Islam, if it isn't about having sex with little girls, it's about having sex with little boys. So,
Or money.
yeah, there's that. And you shouldn't say that Allah, it does not behoove you to claim that your prophet has stolen anything from the booty before it was counted and divided. Oh, but here it is. I have found out that this random slave died in a battle, and suddenly Allah has told me, oh, he's the one who stole the cloak that I was accused of stealing. Couldn't find it out before, and then he's like, look under his pillow here. Here's the cloak. Where'd that cloak come from?
I've been planning a D&D campaign based on Islamic lore. Like the mule just had a comment that said it sounds like a D&D game that got out of hand. Man, it would be so fun if there's like this, like a boss that's like a Satan, and to try to like reproduce, he slaps his knees together, and you have to kill the eggs before they hatch, or you have like, you know, more monsters you have to fight. You get loot. You could ride around on Baruch, the magic donkey. You could like get up to the fifth heaven. You know, you ride on the giant turtle.
Get you some hories.
You could, pick up hories. You could eat Al Anbar, the whale.
The giant Leviathan whale, yeah. Which is also Jewish. Dude,
Straight
It's
up
like
horror
all they
movie.
did
What
was
to be done.
take Jewish Talmudic stuff and then add toots to it. It's
and
like the only
Gnostic stuff,
innovation.
Zoroastrian, Christian. It's a syncretic cult, but it's like a Jewish syncretic cult. A lot of the traditions are also coming from, because Christians would also copy the Jews and vice versa. So it's way harder to be like, oh, well, this belief is specifically Jewish, whenever like a homily like 100 years later also teaches the exact same thing. Because Christians, especially in like the 400s, 500s, they just straight up copied Jews. And Jews copied Christians. Yeah.
Yep.
So like, oh, well, this is like a Jewish belief. It's also a Christian belief. It might also be a Persian belief. It might be a pagan belief. Like people just believed things way easier back then. And if any like semi-authority, Jews were an authority. If any semi-authority said something, pretty much everyone else were like, yeah, that's great. So the church was not immune to that by any stretch of the imagination.
We need our own Christian alley and bar.
That's kind of the problem, Gen Z.
Can we just put this guy in timeout for the night? He won't stay on topic. He just wants to lie. So
Yeah, put him in timeout for 5 minutes. Then he waited the whole 5 minutes, then came back. So
yeah,
let's do
unfortunately.
30 minutes. There you go.
And actually, quite a lot more than Egypt, than 10% is Christian. They just cook the books because otherwise they would be required to give them a seat in parliament. And so they magically can never count higher than 10%, even though, you know, the Muslims are all doing this hookup culture Urfa thing there. So they're not actually having that many kids anymore. And their population is, thank goodness, finally collapsing.
Yeah,
But,
which is
yeah.
funny.
Which is happening all over Islam.
Yeah, yeah. That's absolutely sick.
Which was
Birth rate is
funny
crashing in Islam.
because, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are actually multiple Arab parties in the Jewish government at the moment.
Yeah, there are.
So it's like, hang on. You guys cannot stand to allow a Christian to be present in your house of legislation, but the
This
Jews
whole
can't
voting
seem
thing-
to keep them out.
Yeah, this whole voting thing is just very silly. This for any kind of Islamic group, they should just give all the power and the weapons to the Arab tribal leaders and tell them to take care of Hamas, and it would no longer be a problem. Now, there would be an actual like mass murder, indiscriminate taking place,
Right.
but that is a price I am willing to pay for peace. Muslims cannot work under a system where they vote. They're not mentally capable of dealing with it.
That was one of my favorite. So there was a special ops guy who was telling a story of two Muslims with a donkey, and they were taking turns. And the dude was like, one dude had the donkey's head in a chokehold, while the other guy, it was a male donkey too. It wasn't a female donkey.
Wonderful.
So they were doing it with the butt, and by the end of it, he made the statement of like, we're not, because this was in Iraq. So he's like, we're not going to teach these people how to vote. They're not going to learn democracy. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. You know, one of the things, since he wants to talk about Egypt, let me talk to him about Jews and Christians in Egypt. One of the things that Jews were expected to accommodate under Islamic rule in Egypt in historical times is that whenever a Muslim wanted to take his little butt boy to a place to have sex with him, he would go to a Jewish house, have sex with him in the Jewish house, because, you know, just having sex with boys is just rampant in all places where Islam goes. And afterwards, he would force the Jewish family to feed them. That is the kind of wonderful thing that you get to experience, a cultural enrichment that came to the Jews that had been there for a very long time, that came to the Jews of Egypt. They never experienced that cultural enrichment with Christians, but now that the Jews were here, they could get to experience these delights regularly.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah. There you see a lot of stuff on someone versus the taking turns. Yeah, no, you see a lot of stuff on
Like-
night vision cameras
And when
and
people
drone footage.
And when people come, and when Muslims come to the West and people don't know that they need to lock up their animals to keep them from being harmed, you know, we've had animals severely injured and even killed by gangs going to gang rape the animals. Because why?
That happened in Germany, and it happened in I think Wales.
Yeah, it happened in
There
Wales.
was several. There were sheep that were found with signs of forced entry.
In
They
Spain,
eventually
they keep,
it was like a 20-year-old Muslim.
in Spain, they keep raping cats to death, wild, the stray cats in the park, and it
Can't do it to
happened in the
dogs.
U.S. to a horse. So yeah,
You remember
Dogs are on.
when Trump was like, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs.
it's not what the Muslims are doing.
They're raping the cats. They're raping the
To death.
dogs.
Yeah.
But this is a mentality, because let me explain why. Because a fundamental part of Islam is there's a verse that says that Allah makes this easy for you. The thing that is special about Islam, that is better in Islam than any other way that came before, because each prophet brings his own set of laws, is that Islam makes extra special accommodations for the sexual desires of men. That includes the 4 wives, that includes rape slaves, but that also includes things like the standards of rape, where it's basically improvable. That includes things like the saying, the thing that if you get away with something, then Allah has already forgiven it for you. It is already forgiven it for you. Well, it isn't. Bestiality is supposed to be forbidden in the hadith, but Allah has forgiven it for you. And if someone else sees you doing that to an animal and speaks about it, they haven't done an unforgivable sin. They've done a sin that Allah will not forgive because they have revealed the sin of a brother.
Right.
Animals can't speak. So this is a blank slate to do it as much as you wish. And it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Mary, maybe
They even
you can
breed them
attest-
specifically to be more attractive.
Maybe you can attest to this. What is the abortion rates like in Muslim communities?
They are currently not terribly large, at least publicly speaking. They're not really high, but it is very much allowed. And passing off someone else's your child is like paternity fraud is like twice as common there as it is in most places, even now. But a lot more women are just getting birth control. It's really, really, really common.
Well,
So,
the reason I ask is, number one, you wouldn't expect it because that's how they plan on taking over the world, is through birth rate. But like, number two, I guess this is my Western mind, but like abortion is used by offenders and such to hide their crime. So like, many rapists go uncaught because they're supposed,
Oh, well,
their
how
people have
can you get
abortions.
caught? No,
But that's the thing.
yeah,
In
you
Islam,
cannot get
it
caught
doesn't
in
really
Islam.
matter anyways.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if
They can't testify against it.
No, if you have a video cameras are not Sharia compliant. What you must have are 4 adult male witnesses witnessing the stylus going into the ink pot. So they have to see the 2 parts meeting, and there must be 4 adult male witnesses, which is basically never, unless you are in a gang rape and 4 of you decide to tell on yourselves. Why would that happen? Now, for women, keep in mind that women can be pregnant for years under Islamic law. So if your husband has been gone for 3 years and you get pregnant in the last one, you give birth, you can still say that's your husband's child. And under Islamic law, like there are differences depending on which madhab you're in, but most Sharia councils, typically if you have someone who is an Islamic jurist, he'll go with the most lenient one and go, yep, that child's legitimate, because it's just such a mess if they're not. So they just legitimate all the kids. So yeah, the rape victims are not.
The fiqh is 6 months to 4 years is the duration of pregnancy, according to most schools of Sharia law.
But even then, the 4 years is not necessarily a hard limit, and sometimes they'll stretch it out because of other things. Like, yeah, usually 4 years is the limit, but in some cases 6, 8, so they'll even stretch it out sometimes to even more than that. But yeah, the rape victims are not believed in the Islamic world. They cannot be, because all they have done is they have confessed that they themselves have committed zina. They're saying, I have committed unauthorized sex. I am guilty. And also, like, Allah did not choose to make this revealed. He chose to hide it by not giving you the 4 witnesses. So who are you to complain about it? When girls are raped by their own fathers, they will be advised by imams to wear more concealing clothing at home. Maybe you should wear...
And boys are too.
Yeah. Yep.
Because that happens in the madrasas as well, as the boys are raped by their teachers.
Very commonly. It was a very typical form of punishment. And one teacher was like, well, that's just what we did as punishment. What are you talking about? We didn't think it was inappropriate. That's just what we do. Whenever we're mad at a student, we rape them.
They sodomize boys in schools in Islam, especially Pakistan. Happens almost to all of the boys. It's not just widespread,
Yeah.
it's like institutionalized.
So Amir Yosef says in Pakistan, 84% of the victims are attacked by their own brothers, fathers, cousins, grandfathers, etc. Yes. And more than like full penile rape, there is this idea in Islam that if you digitally rape a little girl, like a toddler, that you're not really doing anything. It's all right. You can do it. So the number of girls who are assaulted by their brothers, by their fathers, by their uncles, by their grandfathers, in terms of digital rape is unspeakable. Unspeakable.
Same with thine. Thine is extremely common too with them.
So so we're all on the same page. Whenever you included that word cousins there, 84% of Pakistan is cousins.
That's marriage.
But that's
though,
the
not
cousins they
necessarily
are
that.
married to. That's other people.
Right.
And he says that I can testify that this does happen because I'm a Pakistani background. Happened to a girl from my dad's side of the family. Her own father did it to her. And she's the one who spoke out. The number of girls who don't speak or who tell their mother and their mother tells them, shut up. Shut up.
Yeah, I have a testimony on my channel. I have a testimony on my channel of a Muslim that actually gave his life to Christ on the stream, which is really cool. So it was a testimony of like why he left Islam and all that. And he went through his own abuse that he endured as a boy from his mom and his family, and then also from his teachers of the madrasa. So it's extremely common.
Yeah, and I'm Carol says that the fetus is not considered a person until a few months in. Yeah, it's 120 days. You have no soul, and so it's no biggie until then. Yeah, 120 days. You don't have a soul, so there's no biggie. But the thing is,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, because women who are married get so much value in themselves historically from just birthing children. Like if you go back to, oh gosh, what's her name? Lady Mary Wortley Montagu. She's talking about being in the Turkish court and how the women there were just desperate to just pop out baby after baby after baby. And they didn't care how unhealthy they were and how sickly they were when they popped them out. Like they're having the babies too close together. The babies are really sickly. Tons of them die. And it's like they do not care because all they care about is the number that comes out of them. So if you are married, it doesn't really matter where the baby actually came from. That would gain you status in the traditional view. If you are unmarried, you would want to seek an abortion. That's the way it typically happens. So
they had the same view as the Mormons, where the souls are pre-existent and they come into the body at a certain period of time.
Yep, which is
as long as you killed the infant before that time, it's not murder.
That's
so
why
they were like
Mormons,
two of the most prolific abortionists groups in history.
Yeah, during Joseph Smith's days, constantly aborting children.
Well, I know that because
not today, because they don't tell them that anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm very much aware of his shenanigans. I did not know that that persisted because, I mean, if you think about it, what's one way to solve the issue of having to provide for a bunch of kids for your 8 wives is just get rid of them.
Yeah, all the kids. Yeah.
But that's insane. I forgot what I was even going to say earlier. But,
it's almost like it's a satanic or something.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's Christian Gadfly. Also, I love that you changed your user to clapping knees, laying eggs with bees.
The funniest comment on that hadith at the end is, that is a wedding that I know not of.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty good. Dude, that whole passage in Qurtubi is so funny.
Yeah, and then again, Amir Yosef says, in all Islamic schools of thought, there's no fixed age of consent. The Muslim schools of jurisprudence unanimously allow marriage of young girls, even if they're still babies in the cradle. Yes, even you can marry a girl before you have cut the umbilical cord. That is a standing statement. And then whenever you decide that she's chubby enough to bear the weight of a man, then you can have intercourse with her. Yep. Absolutely. And that is the normative position.
Bari is crazy.
But you can do other things to her before that point. So you can do thine, you can do digital stuff, you can, whatever.
And that
they don't. It's not like they wait. They
Yeah.
do stuff with infants, guys.
Yep.
They use infants to pleasure themselves.
Yep. And the cucumbers thing is an obvious fiction about Aisha because she had, like you can't get fat eating cucumbers, but that comes from ancient ideas of the four humors. A cold, wet thing makes you fat. Cucumbers are cold and wet, so they will promote fatness because of the four humors. That was just kind of crammed in there to add that context that did not. Aisha said she was very, very thin, by the way. Aisha's own testimony was that she was very thin. That was an adulteration of that particular hadith chain to add that part to have something from which you can say, hey, guys, there's an age at which you shouldn't do things if they're not big enough. That was absolutely shoved in there because Aisha said she was super thin even at the age of 14. So.
Yeah. So for the people who are like, oh, well, why are you focusing on Islam so much? It's like, my guys, what I have seen and know and experienced through all of the like Desert Storm, Desert Shield, I grew up on base. I grew up in the culture of fighting against Muslims. And then I'm also learning all these things about the sources and the things that people are actually experiencing in these countries. Like Pakistan is probably the worst country in history. Not just today, in history. I can't imagine a world like maybe North Korea.
What other country has an endangered species because they're raping them all to death? That's why river dolphins are endangered because they're assaulting them. That's insane. That is insane. That is insane.
Sorry, that might be my bad ear. Did you just say dolphins?
Yes, they have river dolphins. And they're endangered because the Pakistani men will see a river dolphin and will swarm it and rape it to death.
Yeah, which ironically dolphins do to other animals. So it's kind of like a just desserts kind of thing. Because dolphins are kind of the worst. So I mean, maybe we should let them go extinct. But yeah.
But we should find maybe a little bit more of an ethical,
an ethical way of doing it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So you were talking about fate, which is qadar, right?
Yes.
And it is important to note that Qadariya was the first identified heresy in Islam.
Which is?
So, which is the denial
denying
of
Qadar.
Fate. So
denial of fate. Okay.
The fatists, those who deny the fate, and they're saying that they're like the infidels of the community. If they're ill, don't pay a sick visit to them. If they die, don't attend their funerals. And that one's Hassan. This one is Daif, but here's another one. There's two groups in my ummah for whom there is no share in Islam. And the denials of fate are one of them. And another one is, and then there's another, this one's from Abbas too, and that one's also Daif. But still, the fact that this exists at all. There's another one that says, and I was trying to find it and I can't right now, but some guys came after the first great fitna, and they after they came after the big first fitna, they went and asked, what is it that is true about Islam? And like the thing they said is, about fate, that you cannot escape fate. That's the thing that you really have to believe about Islam. And without fate, there's like no Islam. There's also things like, don't make vows because you can't change fate with it. So you, with your will, can't change what's going to happen.
Right.
So don't make any promises because
Surah 76:30 literally says you cannot will except that Allah wills.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't expect that you had seen my conversation with that guy Aladdin on Friday, but he was he was just lying on his book. We would read the passage together, and he would say, "See, look, it doesn't teach determinism." And I was like, "Are we even reading the same thing? Like, is this?
Yeah.
Are you reading what I'm reading?" He literally told me that one of the verses, I can't remember which one it is now. I think it's I can't remember, but it says, "Allah guides whom He wills and leads astray whom He wills."
Yep.
And he said the word "he" there is referring to the people will. So it's like Allah guides whom the people, like the people who want to be guided are guided by
No,
Allah, and the
absolutely
people who want to be led astray are led astray by Allah. I said, but the word He is capitalized here, so it means
yeah.
talking
And
about
also,
God.
Allah is supposed to be the light, but he's a light that misleads. He's the dumbest light ever. Imagine a light that can't even show you the way properly, because it's
Sounds
like Allah is a light, like a lamp in a niche that's got faced not east or west. And I've lost track of where I am in the story, so I'm just going to babble for a while. And so he leads, he shows people the way, you know, being the light as he wills, and then he misleads people as he wills. So I'm like, that's the crappiest light in the world. Like, imagine a light that can't show you the way. What a crappy, worthless light.
Right.
This is another one that is understood as being about everything is assigned decreed. We have created everything according to a measure, means that we've created these for the fire. Some, you know, they're dragged upon fire in their faces because we have created them
According to the measure.
Yeah, according to a measure, meaning they're measured already for the fire in their creation.
Right.
Then there is that's those guys. Where is the other one? There's a couple of there's one about the evil eye.
Oh yeah, that's a good
That if anything could change fate, it would be an evil eye. So let's see the evil eye fate. Let's see if we can find it. Dang. Destiny, maybe? Here we go.
Yeah.
If anything if the influence of the evil eye is a fact, if anything would change your destiny that would be more influential than the fate that Allah has written for you, it would be the influence of an evil eye. So when you're asked to take a bath as a cure from the influence of the evil eye, you better take that bath, because otherwise it'll get you. This makes absolutely no sense, but Allah never makes sense.
Is this Bukhari 5740?
This is Muslim 2188.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna add that. 2180. Okay, I have that. Never mind.
The
Yep.
way
I have the
learned-
entry on the evil eye in my book. I just wanted to make sure I had that.
The way I learned what the evil eye was, so that's not, if you're a Latino and you're watching this, that's not a part of white people culture. I had never even heard of the evil eye. And I was playing Pokemon in Spanish, and there's the move Mal de Ojo in the Spanish version. It's not in the English version, it's just Leer. And
Evil eye.
yeah, in English it's just Leer, and it lowers the defense of the Pokemon. But in Spanish it's Mal de Ojo. And I was like, what in the world does that mean? I asked my Mexican friend. He's like, oh, that's the evil eye. I'm like, oh, what the hell does that mean?
Let me explain this a little bit. So the evil eye pretty much appears to have gone everywhere that the early Neolithic farmers from the Levant and Anatolia first went. So this is an ancient, very ancient pagan idea. And a lot of people think that an evil eye is like a curse that someone puts on things, but it's not. If you say, oh, that baby is pretty, that can put the evil eye on the baby, because two things can happen. First of all, if you say that baby is pretty and you kind of want the little baby in your heart or some way, want to hold it, want to have it, whatever, that baby's cursed. It's got the evil eye, even though your feelings are positive toward it. And Christian Gadfly is, there we go. Now he's no longer fuzzy. And then the second thing is that you can say it and have no feeling in yourself, but there are all these like listening spirits that are hanging out everywhere. And they're like, oh, there's a pretty baby. We better get that pretty baby. So it's also a reason they have a very similar, they don't call it the evil eye, but they have the kind of similar cursed concept where in ancient Chinese culture, you'd name your newborn baby something like doorstop
Ugly and disgusting.
or basket, or, you know, cabbage, or something just random and low value, so that these hovering spirits don't think that you love it, so that they'll attack it. It's also related to, by the way, veils that women wear. It's the actual deepest origin of veils associated especially with marriage. It's one of the reasons why in lots of cultures there's this idea of pretending that the marriage is happening because of a kidnapping. It's not because there was any ancient tradition of kidnapping wives. Absolutely not. What it is you're trying to trip all of these malevolent forces into thinking that something bad is happening. So while you're super vulnerable at this wedding, at this threshold of your life, no evil eye will come on you. And so you just like pretend, oh, no, don't come get me. Oh, no, I don't want to marry you. Evil forces, stay away. But all of this, I mean, this actually still happens in Bedouin cultures too. And again, it is not from any ancient wife kidnapping thing. That's something that Tajikistan made up on its own because it's gross. But is rather to keep all of these kind of nefarious forces from thinking that something bad is going to happen. That something good is happening, so it wants to make something bad happen. And the veil is to hide away the bride from these malevolent forces that just might be hanging around trying to get her on her really special day. So even in cultures where women really don't wear even covering headdresses of any sort, a lot of times there'll be a veil on the wedding day. There's a veil that covers the face on the wedding day itself, even in Chinese culture, for instance. It's in a bunch of places, but that's the idea. You're hiding from these malevolent forces. And that turned into the Mediterranean veil as a mark of a married woman, because she needs to be under a bit more protection in case because she's going to be pregnant, she's going to be vulnerable, and all of that. And then Muslims got really weird with it, because of course they did.
Yeah, the rabbinics got pretty weird with it, and then the Muslims just picked it up from there and went even further with it.
Oh, even
the Jews, if you see the blue hand with the eye in the middle, that's the evil eye, and it's supposed to be like a totem that protects you from it.
Yep.
A lot of Asia also has it, like not just China, but also in like Japan, like Hokkaido, they would name their kids like vomit and barf and poop and like just really like nasty, like the nastier the better. And so they're like 10 years old and they would name them a real name. But imagine for like the first 10 years of your life, you're just called barf all the time.
And your parents need to not compliment you, because if they do, the evil eye will get you. No one should say that you're pretty. No one should pay too much attention to you, because the evil eye is always lurking. Or in that case, they didn't call it the evil eye, but it's the same kind of concept that these malevolent forces are coming to snatch away your children. So families frequently fake illnesses or stage emergencies to ward off the evil eye, thinking it'll confuse jinns into thinking that something bad is already happening. Yeah, absolutely. And this is totally pagan. This is 1000% pagan. And Islam's just like, yep, stamp. Want the paganism. Mm-hmm. More paganism. We don't have enough paganism.
So did the Jews.
The super pagan after rejecting Christ.
Muslims love to point out there's this Greek phrase that Jesus says, and I think in Luke, but Jesus says this phrase, speaking of might have been Judas or the Pharisees, but he was talking about like giving to the poor, and the phrase was, "Why do you think my eye is bad because my eye is good," or something like that? He used the phrase evil eye word for word in the Greek, but he's using it as an idiom from Proverbs, where in Proverbs it just talks about being a stingy person, like you just don't want to give money away. And then it developed radically into rabbinic and then Islam and everything else, where it has all these supernatural components to it of like being horny or jealous or envious or whatever else. And I gave a presentation on the Talmudic dilemma with Chris from Speaker's Corner last week, and I was talking about the evil eye, and I was like, if you like lust after a person, or if you get envious or you get angry at a person, you could do that. And I guess I stared at Chris. He's like, which one of the versions were you doing to me? I was like, yes. He's like,
yeah. I mean, even if you like really admire a person, that can be evil eye. Like too much admiration can, especially if it's a child or something like that. So, Amir Yosef is pointing out that that zina itself is explicitly determined by Allah. Allah has written for the son of Adam his inevitable share of zina, whether he's aware of it or not. So you can't escape all the lust that you feel and all the rape that you do. Allah has already said that you're going to do it. And Allah has
Mhm.
made this an easy religion so you can avoid all the consequences from it. So when Muslim men are like, what? I wanted to. What? What do you expect me to do? I had a chance to rape this person. Like, what are you talking about? They're not.
And do you expect me not to? Come
Yeah,
on.
you expect me not to? They're not like pulling this out of nowhere. This is what their religion teaches. The reason why they don't do it as much at home is that somebody will find them and kill them. They have confidence that they will not be slaughtered by the family of the women they attacked, which is unfortunate. They should not have that confidence.
Yes.
Yep.
With that said, I'm gonna head out.
Me
It is
too.
bedtime.
Oh,
I was about to
I
say
do
that.
have wait before
Okay.
you go, Chase. I want to get your opinion on this. So this is
Good.
my argument against determinism within Islam.
Okay.
Because that
Do you need my
is
opinion
the
on
so.
this too, Chris?
Oh no, you can go to sleep if you want.
Okay, I'm going to sleep.
Good night, Gadfly.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Good night. So the Islamic deity of deception argument, because Quran teaches and Hadith and everything else teach exhaustive divine determinism, the EDD, not the other type of ED, meaning that Allah determines all things. That's what Muhammad had. He had ED. Determines all things, including the theological beliefs of Muslims and everyone else. So he determines what you believe about reality. So the majority of Muslims have false theological beliefs, according to Sunan Ibn Majah 3992. Only one group out of 73 is going to have the perfect, correct theological beliefs and practices in order to be admitted into Jannah, according to a Sahih hadith in
Right.
Sunan Ibn Majah.
Right.
If exhaustive divine determinism is true, Allah determines Muslims and everyone else to affirm false theological beliefs. So Allah is causing false beliefs not only in Muslims who are rightly guided, but in every other group as well. He is the one who determines that we believe false things. So if Allah determines 98.6% of Muslims, and then more than that of everyone else, including Jews and Christians, because they're also included in those group numbers. So if over 90% of all humanity, Allah has determined to affirm false theological beliefs, then Allah is an untrustworthy source of theological beliefs. If Allah is an untrustworthy source of theological beliefs, then his eternal speech, the Quran, cannot be trusted, and theological beliefs derived from his eternal speech are not justifiable. Conclusion: theological beliefs derived from the Quran are not epistemically justified, and Muslims have no reason to believe that Allah exists and that Muhammad was his prophet.
Yeah. No, it's good. I do like it. I remember talking about this with you before, because I was like, I want to make one that's specific for Islam, and I never got the time. But this is very specific. And I like the use of hadith there. Even if these, one group out of the 73 of Muslims is like 99% of Muslims, okay, Allah still determines for a certain group of people to believe false things, and that's not that actually. Would that not also fly in the face of some of his other, like?
Well, it's also that Allah cannot hold you responsible for that which he has determined. Like anything that he's determined, you're not even responsible for.
Well,
Yet Allah sends you
right.
to hell, and that's an even another one. Like, it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean is that, like, how could you consider Allah to be just and also determine sufficiently for people to believe wrong things and then punish them for it, So, like,
Yep.
yeah, it also flies in the face of those. But I like it. I think it's good. I like I really do like the rationality argument, just because I think it collapses everything very quickly. You can't even, like, there's nothing to talk about if determinism is true. I just need the determinists to understand this. There's no point in arguing if determinism is true. There's no point in you saying anything to me if determinism is true. There's no point in anything if determinism is true, right?
Yep. You just kind of stand there. I just want to stand there and kick someone's shins until they admit that I'm able to stop whenever I want.
Right.
Like, are you really going to argue this? All right, well, tell me when you think I could stop.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it really doesn't matter. So and another thing that I think is hilarious is when Muslims are like, "Oh yeah, but the Quran over here affirms your freedom of choice in certain situations." It's like, look, dude, I don't think your book makes sense. Like, that's just a contradiction, plain and simple. Even if it's actually
Yeah.
saying what you think it says, that's just contradiction.
Right. If you go to this other thing that seems to imply that you have free will, but the thing is, what's really interesting is that Muhammad taught free will until one moment in time.
His uncle died.
His uncle
without believing in
died
Islam.
without believing in Islam, and suddenly, and he went back in, and you can see where he just jams in, and they believe if Allah wills, and if he doesn't, they don't, and it just gets jammed in the old stuff. These weird, like, he'll have this whole passage about why don't you choose? You should come and believe, and then his uncle dies, and he's like jamming in this extra verse that's
Well,
like,
what does it matter?
Allah is the one who determines whether or not you do or don't. Ha! All because he
I wonder if
did
he
not take responsibility for making a terrible case for Allah. He could not admit that he did a crap job of convincing his favorite uncle, who was his pederast caretaker, and could not admit to himself that he could not present a decent case to this man to follow him, and so he had to just eviscerate the thing that he'd spent years teaching and say, "Oh yeah, I've been calling you all to Islam as if you could respond, but really, Allah just told me now that you can't." Like, the heck?
Yeah.
Case, did you just type as me?
I did. I don't know how I did that though.
Interesting.
Weird.
Oh, because you're my admin.
I am an admin, but
So whatever
I typed earlier. Well, I thought I typed before and it didn't do that. No, I've never typed. I
Go
take
try
that
it
back.
again.
I've never
Try again.
commented. I've never commented.
Go ahead and try it again. Say, haha, I'm a silly boy. Or something stupid. Make me look stupid.
Oh.
Calvin
that
Batten.
works
All right,
too.
yeah. That's weird. Interesting. Neat. That's a good thing to know. That means I can also type as Ash on his streams.
I
It's
am
so
not
much
a
fun. I'm gonna-
semi-open theist. That's
I'm
Chris
going
is an
to
actual...
troll.
Okay.
I'm going to troll Ash Mays so hard. I am going to play with that so bad. It's going to be so much fun. I'm very excited for the next stream I do with him.
No, yeah. No, I still believe in closed theism. Like, I still believe that the Lord knows the future. I just,
I think it's very, very goofy to claim that God has no power over things if he doesn't make them happen. Like, when has that ever been the case? But secondly, I think it's very goofy to not understand that time itself is a creation, and from the perspective of God, he knows.
I'm gonna head out of here because I know what's about to happen.
All possible futures, and also he is beyond that, so he knows which futures have happened. So, like, he knows everything. How can you be time bound if you're outside of time?
Right.
Do
you want to go through anything specific?
Or you... Not really. I had gotten through the fact that Qidariya is supposed to be, it is the first heresy, and they try to sew it up later and go, no. But if you say that there is only fate and men's wills don't also influence, well, then you're also a heretic. But again, if it is meticulously determined in terms of it is written for you to do things, you can't do otherwise. Every bit of you is shaped in that way. And what you say of anyone can also be said of Adam, who is somehow not responsible.
Man, do you think there's any like da'is or like any sheikhs who actually study Islam to this extent and are still truly Muslim, like truly believe it's true?
I think the way that you get honor and respect in Islam is knowing that you shouldn't pour hot water down a drain because it will burn the butts of jinn. It is not by deeply thinking about anything. It's about all of these minute rules. So it's about all of these, haha, I know this extra thing. Haha, I can apply this in this way. They are absolutely discouraged from any kind of critical thought whatsoever. Because the fact is, once you read Muhammad's sources and what he said, he thought Allah was a big dude stomping around up in a place. He was in time. He was in a place. He has extents. There is where he is. There is where he is not. Like we talk about, God is everywhere. But we don't mean that his substance is like in a place, because he is not bound in his transcendence is, beyond all of that, but also there's nothing that can escape him at the same time. Like there's no way for there to be a distance away from God, because God isn't a distance creature like we are. We are creatures. We are distance things. We are shape things. We are size things. Well, Allah is a shape thing. He's a size thing. He has, as I was pointing out, the thing that was making the Muslim absolutely wig out and freak out was me talking about the attributes of Allah that all Sunnis affirm: his seeing, his hearing, and his knowing. Seeing is not hearing, which is not knowing. They are different, distinct attributes. That means that Allah has sensory organs that have sight. They have photon receptors or the equivalent thereof. He has auditory receptors, ears or the equivalent thereof, and his knowledge is something else. His knowledge is the processing of the sensory input. He has sensory input.
Just to read books to learn about you.
He has sensory. Well, I mean, he's all seeing. He sees everything, which is not his knowing. So he has sensory, and that's why, like, Salafis literally get in fights over whether or not Allah can see what you're doing in the toilet. They agree that he knows what you're doing in the toilet in some way because he knows everything, but can he see what you're doing in the toilet? Well, he sees everything, but he also, like, the toilet is way beneath him. So there's just issues.
Oh man, Muslims, how many Muslims have you heard be like, oh, well, your God can become poop, or your God pooped? And it's like, is that really your strongest argument against Christianity? Is that Jesus pooped and God's omnipresent?
Because what's the difference between him and Allah? When Iblis saw Adam stretched out on the ground, he thought it was Allah. And the only difference is that when he flew in through Adam's nose, he had a digestive tract, so he came out of his butthole. But if you fly in through Allah's nose, he only has lungs. He is not. He does not have a hole that goes all the way through him. So what's the topology? So in the mathematics of topology, Allah has no hole because he has no surface that hole that penetrates all the way through, whereas Adam does. And that's how he can tell the difference between Adam and Allah. So whenever they go, he poops, it's going back to that. They don't even know why. But Allah is supposed to be really freaked out by poop. And some of the versions, what the fruit does, the reason why they get kicked out is because the fruit makes them poop, and you can't have poop in paradise, so they get kicked out. There's a whole big deal about whenever you go back to Jannah, you're eating all the time. Where does everything go? It doesn't just magic itself out. You burp. Farting's bad again. Anything but is bad. Bad except for sex, apparently, because you're still raping the boys. Right. But you
and animals.
Yeah, animals. Yep, absolutely raping animals. You're burping and you're sweating out everything that you eat. But it smells really good. It's you're just covered, drenched in sweat because you're sweating out all your food. But, this is really wonderfully smelling sweat. So I guess you don't really need to bathe because you're just sweating out buckets of perfume instead.
Right. But delicious fluid coming onto you.
But that's why you can't poop in paradise, because Allah's just, that's the lower created things have pooping buttholes. And Allah has no butthole at all. And then once we're elevated, we'll have buttholes, but they don't poop. Men just use it to attack, boys with, right? So,
Which, for those who are not aware, this is such an important thing in Islam. That's one of Allah's 99 names. As-Samad, the solid one. The fact that he doesn't poop is so important. It's one of his eternal names.
yep, the solid one. And that is what it means. So one of the things is when you go into Christianity from a false belief system, you are required by ancient church tradition, you were required to forswear beliefs that you had held before. And the statements for Muslims, including forswearing the belief that Allah is this solid, impenetrable mass, that God is an impenetrable mass. Like they coined a word for it, the constipated one. He is eternally constipated. But he you have to be baptized. This was not like some sort of low-grade polemic, just a wild attack. No, this is from talking to, reading Islamic sources, having serious conversations, the most intelligent scholars of Christianity, interviewing all the Muslims who were converting to Christianity and going, what statement do we need them to say so that they get rid of all their false beliefs? And one very important one is that you can't believe that he's like this hard, impenetrable mass, that he is this dense thing without any holes. But again, that would be something that's occupying space and has extent. Right. Allah has extent. He is in time. He is in a space. Yeah. He's in mist. He's above water. He hasn't created any of these things because he's a huge human being. And reason why
that's exactly what that story tells is because he couldn't tell the difference between Allah and Adam.
Right.
Well, what's Adam? Adam's a human, so Allah looks like a human.
Yeah. So Allah looks just like a human. He's just really, really big. And that comes from, the Jewish stuff about the divine Adam is just everywhere in Islam. All this weird Gnostic-y stuff, whenever they rejected the two powers, two authorities, which was the actual pre-Christian Jewish belief was about the two powers in heaven. Whenever they went, oh crap, one of them's this Messiah, we don't want him. They're like, maybe Adam was divine. Maybe Adam is this other power somehow. And then they're like, wait, that totally doesn't work. But it was this Gnostic-y turn away from Christianity and what their very obvious Messiah in front of them into something that was insane. And of course, Islam unwaveringly picked up on the most insane thing and decided to make it crazier. Because it's not just
he does that with a lot of things.
A lot.
Yeah. Yeah, man, dude. Islam is, no matter what you study in Islam, it just turns into problems. There's no aspect to their theology that makes sense the deeper you go into it.
Yep. And they tried so hard to make it not stupid. And what they really end up with is don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it on one hand. And let's just pretend everything Muhammad said doesn't actually count on the other. And let's just adopt a cross between Gnosticism, like straight up the Ismaili system just took Arianism. It's just straight up Arianism. And they replaced Jesus with Muhammad in the Arianistic model. There's the Holy Spirit, there's Jesus, and there is God in an Arian Neoplatonic fusion. It is stark, but it doesn't at all match anything that Muhammad ever said. So either you just throw out 90% of Islam, or you're in the system where you don't think about it, but you really pay attention to whether or not you can wipe over Western socks or whether or not they actually have to be these leather historic socks to get away with not washing your feet.
Yep. And if you pee on yourself, what that's going to do to you in the grave. And
how to deal
all
with
their nonsense.
A little baby girl pees, what do you do? If a little baby boy pees, what do you do? And you become this master of just arcane and insane trivia that makes everyone just neurotic.
Yeah.
So
It's like you're straining a gnat, but you swallowing a camel.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's
that's
a Jewish friend I have.
Yeah.
I have a Jewish friend who's anti-rabbinic. So he was a rabbinic Jew. He left to be a rabbinic Jew. Now he's Torah only. And me and him were texting one day, and we were talking about like the Pharisees or the rabbis hyper fixating on things. And then he made the comment of like, yeah, I mean, they basically make all of this like their idol, like all the little details they try to keep, all these man-made traditions. That's basically their idol, and they entirely ignore the rest of the laws. Like, careful now, you're sounding like Jesus. He said like several emojis to that.
But yeah. I mean, like, and this Muhammad was making stuff up as he went along to a whole bunch of really ignorant people. So it didn't even have to be consistent. Virtually all leaders of cults, what they teach, their theology isn't consistent. They change it according to what their mood is and what suits their audience. And Muhammad did too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How many friends do I have? I have a lot of friends.
How many Jew friends?
How many Jew friends do I have? I have 5, which is a shocking number because I've never been in New York and I've never been to Israel. So to know like 5 Jews specifically, only from the internet is a very weird thing in my book. Yeah, I talk to Jews on a regular basis. Then I get the trick from Big Netanyahu on a monthly basis.
I once had a Jewish agent talk about stereotypical, but anyway.
I know many more Jews than that, but those are my friends.
Somebody asked me what got me down the wormhole of Islam, and it really was 9/11 because I was I had a minor in religious studies. Yeah. And we read massive amounts of actual scripture when we studied everything except Islam. Somehow they just didn't want us to read any of the scripture when we were studying Islam. We read scripture when we were reading Buddhism. We read scripture with Hinduism. We read scripture with Taoism, for heaven's sake, as if anyone follows Taoism today in a really close way, caring about what the original material said. But you get to Islam and they did not let you read any of it. And then right after that, 9/11 happened. And I'm like, somebody's lying to me about Islam. So I put it in the back of my head and I'm like, I need to read this later. And I read it on my own once. I'm like, oh, wow, this is just the rantings of a violent, vile madman. And then Robert Spencer's blogging the Quran actually introduced me to the concept of the tafsir and what hadith are and all those other things, and really got me to know what it is I should be looking at, aside from, because the Quran is not a book that makes any sense on its own. Like compared to just about any other religious book, it's a guy screaming at people in the desert and then interrupting himself with other things randomly and then screaming at some other people in the desert. I could tell he was screaming at his followers. And I had known he started out in Mecca, so I could tell he was screaming at the people who were his relatives who didn't believe in him. And he was screaming at Jews just constantly. Endless screaming at Jews.
He turned red in the face. Yep.
Yeah. And then eventually I was like, and the stuff he was saying about Christianity and Judaism were hilarious because they were just stupid. And I recognized a number of the sources even then. I'm just like, I know where this came from. What a dummy. So, like, I just, it wasn't until I got a hold of how to find the other sources that I could really make sense of it, because it just was not enough. And yeah, I was massively, like, when people said, oh, that's culture or whatever, once I turned to the Quran, I'm like, yeah, that's not culture. That's a Quran for most of it. And then I went to the Hadith. I'm like, oh, yeah, the rest of that's also not culture. That's also Islam. So.
It's the teachings. They're the faithful Muslims.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned one thing, like the Quran is just incoherent garbage and nonsense, which it is. A lot of the incoherencies I've actually been pointing out in my book. There, I have a whole section of like, this makes literally no sense in the Quran, and then you read the Talmud, and then like, oh yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
So you have
Yep.
to use the Jewish and Christian sources to understand what
absolutely.
the Talmud is even saying, which is why the tafsir are full of Jewish and Christian sources to explain their book, because
Yep.
their book like assumes you are aware of the Jewish traditions. If you're not aware of the Jewish traditions, the Quran makes no sense.
Or at least that you had Muhammad near you to tell you all about it.
Right.
And his own.
Which he would do to his followers.
Yep.
Yeah. Sunan ibn Dawood narrates that he would tell stories of the Jews all night long to his followers. So all the people are like, oh, Muhammad didn't know any of these stories. How could he? And it's like, well, there's hadith that's sahih that says that he did, and he would talk about them for hours at a time, only getting up to do the adon and the prayer.
Yep.
That's just so stupid. Actually, I do know Lloyd. I have his book, and he works a good bit with Usama Dakdok, who I also know. I've not been able to stream with Usama yet, but I've had personal conversations with him. I don't fully agree with all of Lloyd's conclusions, but I think that there's a lot of the stuff he's doing that has good merit. His book deconstructing a lot of the beliefs of Islam and some of the sources and origins are good. Yeah.
He decided for some insane reason that like I was replacing him with Thaddeus, even though that's totally not what happened. It was completely unrelated. That
did
I
you used to
came
stream with
on
him?
when Thaddeus used to stream with Lloyd about once every 6 weeks or maybe once a month.
Oh, okay.
And then I started streaming with him like once every 2 weeks or once every single week, but it wasn't a replacement at all. But he thought it was. But he says the thing is, Lloyd knows some sources well, but he says a lot of things that are completely without any actual merit. He doesn't understand languages, which is a big problem. So he thinks, for example, that anything that looks like the same kind of word in English is the same thing. Like he thinks that al-Makkah of Old South of Arabia is like related in some way to Mecca, and it is not. He will even get on some of the weirder tangents with words and stuff. So he just doesn't know language. He does not know language or how they work or which things are the same and if they're different or if there's any evidence for it. So
to say like
right
Diaz
now,
for Makma it's like saying Makmadim is the same as Muhammad for Hebrew and Arabic. Like, oh well, they're both Semitic languages.
No, well, it's not the
same. They mean different things.
Well, it's not even that they mean different things. They are completely different letters. They're completely different letters with totally unrelated meanings. They are not at all the same. They're not from the same root. He just doesn't know languages. He just thinks that they look similar enough. And like a Q is not a C/K, right? A Q is not a K. It's not. There's a random L in there that he tries to make Al or whatever. So there's that. And because he like decided he hated me, he's kind of butting up to the J. Crew Muhammad mythicism thing just because I oppose them, which I don't know whether or not he's still doing it. He really hates my guts, but he was like majorly butting up to them. And Mel, with whom he streams and whom he supports, has done things such as present ChatGPT hallucinations as fact, first of all, when they do not exist, and when the very person he's citing believes the opposite of what ChatGPT is describing to them. Like it'll hallucinate something, and even the viewpoint is just a lie. It's not in the material, and he's too lazy to look it up. He has said things like, well, I have to use ChatGPT because some of these sources don't exist anymore. I'm like, what are you talking about? ChatGPT does not have access to a time machine. So like, and he has promoted actual cultists who have founded their own cults and are promoting them on at least 2 separate occasions, and like is promoting people who lead people from Christianity as reliable sources. And with one of them, he found their cult website and he's like, oh, this researcher backs up what this person said to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, honey, that's a cult website. He is part of this cult. Yes, he's saying this crazy cult stuff and it's just not true. And unfortunately became a major informant for Jay. So a lot of their theories like is literally from this insane cult that made everything up. So he's got some good stuff on Sharia still. So for Lloyd, Lloyd's still got good stuff on Sharia. How about that?
Yeah. There's all these older guys they have some focused areas that are really, really good and some focused areas that are just not good whatsoever. So you kind of have to pick and choose, but always test all things.
Yeah, just so you know, no one currently who is doing Muhammad mythicism in the Christian space is a reliable source and says accurate things. It's not, they just don't. So they will make you look foolish if you repeat what they say. Check everything and look for actual real sources. So,
yeah. Which my argument has been used a lot by the mythicists, actually. I feel a little guilty about that.
Yeah.
To be fully clear, I am not a mythicist. I think the best explanation for the evidence we have on the details surrounding Islam and the traditions of Muhammad is that Muhammad is a real person. Now, do I fully agree with all the statements of Islam? I would say no. But that's just because I think like he would, grape children. And they say, oh no, he never even hurt a woman. And I think the sources don't agree with that. And then there's some like weird oddities with like statements like, so I have a question for you with this one. I talked to Jai about this. There's 2 sections in the Quran that I don't understand how to interpret from the Hijaz. But obviously he's copying from Jews all the time. There's 2 sections. There's one, which I think might be explainable by just saying land exists, but there's a phrase about like how go and you see these 2 seas that have pearls in it, you can fish in it, and you can ride boats in it. And it's a freshwater sea and a saltwater sea.
Oh yeah,
the
I know
only
what that is.
Freshwater sea in the area.
No, it's not
Galilee.
a freshwater sea. No. So it's so in Bahrain, what does Bahrain literally mean? It means the 2 seas. So from ancient Sumeria, the place was called the 2 seas because there's a place where there is an upwelling of fresh water there. And that was very well known.
Oh.
And so that the entire thing about the barrier between the 2 seas, it's a barrier between the freshwater sea, which is mostly underground, and the saltwater sea that you can go out and see. And he thinks that there is a place that like he has heard about the upwelling in the Persian Gulf, because I mean an entire region's named after it, for heaven's sake. Like it's really well known as like this miraculous place. He's never been there, obviously, because he thinks that there's like literal fresh water there and there's some sort of wall and there's literal salt water over there. But really it's an upwelling where the water's much more brackish because the fresh water is actually mixing into the salt water. And that is where pearls come from. So he knows of this by being told by people who have traveled there. Like there are Persians in that area who have come into Mecca, and he trades with that area. Like these are things that he's like talking about as if you were someone in the 1900s who's never actually left the United States, who's talking about the wonders of the Far East, where you might see the palace of the Forbidden City, because he's heard about it, right? So that's what it is. It's Bahrain. It's the place. And this whole thing, the god of the freshwater and the god of the saltwater, really important to the Sumerians, and the entire thing of the 2 bodies of water, the 2 oceans, the freshwater ocean, the saltwater ocean, is from this Sumerian tradition that just continued, and everybody else picked up on it. Except for, it's not in the Bible because it's weird stuff. But everybody else is
I do think it's in the rabbinic sources also have something extremely similar. I think actually the Talmud might be a little bit closer for the freshwater and saltwater. But that's for the mixing of the fluids, not for the actual seas themselves. But if the Bahrain literally just means the 2 seas.
Yeah, it means the 2 seas.
Yeah, that makes
freshwater seas, the saltwater sea. And then But if you
Okay.
so whenever you read about Jenna, what do rivers do? They flow underneath.
They go under and
Yeah, they
then
flow
mix
because it's
around them.
part of
Yeah.
the currents of the freshwater sea, and then they burst out and they're briefly visible, and then they go underground because that's what he thinks rivers are. He has no mental concept of a perennial river. He's never seen one in his life that he knew was a perennial river.
Right, because he lives in the desert and he traveled most. Well, so you do have the interesting thing where the four rivers themselves are stolen from Jews and Christians, from like Second Enoch and Apocalypse of Paul. Yeah, but
They flow
the idea
underneath.
that the rivers
So
go
they're
under,
right. It's because
Yeah.
he lives in an
That's
area
weird.
where rivers are ephemeral.
right?
And if you have an
Right.
oasis,
And-
that must be a part where river just sort of pops out for a little while. So
In the Apocalypse of Paul, it talks about how the rivers go around and go through, but not under. So it's like he's combining a bunch of different ideas together because of his
Yeah.
understanding of how rivers work.
yeah,
But it's obviously Jewish and Christian origins for the beliefs.
it
So it's
really
these
upsets
false
Muslims.
beliefs.
Yeah, it really upsets Muslims
That's mixed
whenever I
together.
talk about how he doesn't understand the Nile River. He thinks it's a sea. He uses a Jewish word for sea that's borrowed in for what runs up and along Egypt. And even in the Hadith, it's all about a sea that Egypt, like it's a coastline, because he has no concept of a perennial river. It does not exist in his
Right.
brain. And asking
Yeah.
why Allah doesn't know about perennial rivers is something that really is hysterically upsetting to Muslims.
Which- The Arabic word itself can be translated as either sea or river based on the usages.
No. Yom
But that doesn't
absolutely
mean-
cannot. They lied through their stinking.
That's the
stupid
lexicons.
teeth. They
The
lied.
lexicons say that.
Yeah, they do, because it began to be used of the Nile River. It just meant sea. It
Right.
did not mean river. They have a word for river.
That's
it is a
super
different
interesting.
word. They borrowed the word for sea specifically because it was about splitting the Red Sea, and they borrowed
Right.
that word to apply to the sea near Egypt, because he understood that yam was water that was split, right? But he doesn't even understand how like water, even in a sea sense, actually works. He talks about tracking Moses. So Moses was yeeted into the sea, according to
Right.
the Quran, initially without anything, and later he actually gets a basket in another retelling. But then the sister follows his tracks. So in Muhammad's mind, like, you can track something across the sea. The sea is something that things can be tracked across, because he just has no concept of how large bodies of water would work. It's very weird. And yes, I just use yeeted in the sentence. I always use yeeted for Moses in the sea because it's awesome. She just tosses him in there, and then she gets worried later on about it.
Oh, it's literally Bahrani in the Arabic for the surah I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of 35:12.
All right, let's look at that.
So in 35:12, it's literally Bahrani. So it's Al Bahrani, Adaha Aban Furutan. So it's literally the two seas. This one is fresh and sweet, pleasant to drink, and then this one is salty and bitter.
Yeah,
And then it goes through. So
and yeah,
I was thinking that might have been
Bahrain,
like
Bahrain,
Galilee
yeah.
in the Red Sea or something like that.
No,
But that is so, it's
Bahrain.
literally Bahrani.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
Bahr is
Okay.
the normal word for sea. Yam was not the normal word. It was borrowed only because of the Sea of Reeds in Hebrew. So he knew that he ought to call the large body of water near Egypt a yam, because that's what it was called, and that's what the people he was stealing it from were calling it. But yeah, it's Bahrain. Yeah, that's Bahrain, and he's just talking about miracles. Like, don't you know about that? The great two seas. This is the great miracle.
That is so interesting.
Yeah. And I just died whenever I found out that the place of the two seas was a super, super, super ancient name. for Bahrain because of the freshwater upwelling there. But he doesn't understand that, like, it mixes there, that it's a brackish area. He doesn't get that. He thinks that there's a wall because otherwise they would mix entirely. He doesn't get freshwater lenses exist.
That is so interesting to me.
Isn't
Okay, I was gonna add that to my. Yeah, I'll have to remove what I was gonna talk about with that.
Yeah,
I'll go deeper into that. I don't know if I actually want to include that in my book or not.
that would have to be a Sumerian
Him
source,
understanding.
and you can talk about Enlil
Right.
and Enki,
Which-
because Enlil and Enki.
I have
were
the
gods
Enuma.
of-
The Enuma Elish goes through it with Tiamat and Apsu. So I was gonna
yeah.
maybe bring in the Tiamat passages with the sweet and salt sea, and
Yeah.
being mingled together. But
yeah, the two. Well, that they don't. That they don't. There's a wall between them, and that they can't mingle.
intermingle.
Yeah, they're,
Right.
they're not allowed to intermingle.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the miracle, and that's why you should believe in Allah. Like,
Mhm.
haven't you heard of this thing that doesn't actually exist?
which is in Bereshit Rabbah 4:5. I'm just looking at my book passage right now, but it's literally like
Right.
the firmament is similar to a pool of water, and above the pool is a dome. Because the pool there is condensation of thick drops, they descend into salt water but do not intermingle. Rabbi Yonah said, "Do not wonder, the Jordan passes through the Sea of Tiberias, which is the Sea of Galilee,
Yeah,
but does not intermingle with its water. There's a miraculous process involved in this matter."
and
So
that idea.
God
they're both.
miraculously.
Yeah,
does
the miraculous wall is older than the Talmud and was very common. You know, it's Sumerian. The idea of waters being walled off from one another in terms of saltiness and sweetness. Yeah. So yeah, the book is going to be longer than the Talmud at this point. So you have one
So-
other question? One other source?
Yeah, about Sodom and Gomorrah. But for that comment on the book, my book at one point got to 900 pages, and I debated on whether or not I wanted to make it one volume or two volumes. And then I
900
talked
has
to my
to be two.
publisher.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I want to do it in one volume because the force of my argument is the parallels themselves. So if I make all the parallels into the second
Right.
volume and the argument into the first volume, if they don't buy both volumes and read both volumes, they're not going to get it.
Got
So I'm
it.
trying to get it all as one book. And my publisher said, "Hey, you have a page limit of 363."
What?
No,
No.
636.
Yes, because that's the print on
636.
demand limit. That would be the print on demand limit. They're most likely going to do
So
print on demand.
right, he is. So I was like, okay, I can probably do that. So
what
it's
you wanna
currently
do-
675.
So what you'll want to do is do the you should be able to do 9.5 by 11 with it,
We'll see.
and do columns.
He likes the 9x6.
Yeah, because it's cheaper.
But
But the other one only
I do
adds
want it to be like affordable for people.
the other one only adds $2. The larger one, the upcharge is $2. So
Oh, really?
yeah, the upcharge is not that much for the
Yeah. This is a mostly like non-profit
Yeah.
publisher who's Christian and is doing it specifically to like help fund ministries of
Right.
Christian apologists. So I have a really cool setup. Like I'm gonna be a little bit better than Amazon actually, financially. But I'm trying to get the book under 600 pages. We'll see how
Well,
that.
that has to do with his actual machinery and what it's able to handle.
Right.
So
So the second question is the Sodom and Gomorrah passages.
Mhm.
There's a couple passages in Sodom and Gomorrah, not the like raining clay, which I think is a misunderstanding of Joshua,
mhm.
because in Joshua, Yahweh rains stones onto the people. I think he's applying the stone raining onto Sodom and Gomorrah instead of sulfur. But there's multiple places in the Quran where he says, "Hey, if you're doubting the revelation that's coming to you about the coming destruction for denying me, go walk and look at the ruins of Sodom and Gomorrah."
Oh, he says look at the look at the ruins of all the places that there has been previously.
He does say that, yeah.
So
There's a specific passage that talks about the ruins specifically of Sodom and Gomorrah.
but I think that I think that statement is actually a general one, that the statement is, and then he's giving examples of ruins. So see what has happened to the people before the general statement, and then he gives an example. So he gives examples of places out in the Hadramaut as well, which is between Oman and Yemen. So he's just giving examples, like go out in the land and you can see all of these ruins. What he is. So Muhammad's theology, to be clear, was this. Every single township, so like a central village with its outlying areas, or central city with its outlying areas, not necessarily every single itty bitty settlement, but every single significant settlement gets its own messenger, or gets its own, rather, prophet is the later terminology. He would have originally called it a warner. Everybody would get a warner, right? Because really, he thought prophet and messenger are the same thing, and warner was the thing that he initially identified of, which is the lower level, but whatever. They get their same, everybody gets somebody coming from God with a warning. And some people will follow that person, and many people will not. The people who oppose him will try to throw him out and will fail. They cannot expel him. If you go to the Arbery translation and just look for the word expel, onelittleangel.com Arbery translation, it has it all in one document. So you can just search for the word expel. And you can find dozens of examples where the pattern is the prophet, the people who don't want to follow prophet from his own town, speaking his own language, want to kick him out. That's why you have Moses coming to the Pharaoh, and Pharaoh or his mullahs, they can't remember who's saying what. Allah forgets who says what. They're like, he wants to kick you out, or he wants to kick us out. We shall fight him so that he cannot kick us out. But what Moses did not want to kick them out of Egypt. He wanted to be let go, to go sent out of Egypt, to be allowed to leave. Completely the opposite. So 1 second, I've got knock at the.
All right. While you're going through that, talk about the comments real quick. Can you give us the cliff notes of the book? Islam is false. That's the cliff notes. It's false because it copies man-made material. How many shekels is it going to cost? Probably 30.
Look at me.
Yeah. Around 30. Yeah. Does the book come with a t-shirt? I do have merch now. I actually wore it to the Seek and Share Truth conference. So I met David in person wearing my own shirt with my own merch. It was very nerdy. And then he made fun of me the rest of the weekend. So, but yeah.
So they try to throw them out. They cannot. The unbelievers can never expel the prophet. They can never expel the warmer. They cannot. Instead, what happens is that Allah sends a doom upon them that is supernatural. So it is a wind, it is an earthquake, it is a flood, it's fire from heaven, it is clay from heaven. He sends a supernatural disaster, and it slaughters every single person who is a disbeliever and leaves every person who is a believer, and they do not sorrow and do not grieve, period. And then, so when you look around and you see these ruins, the ruins are from the destruction of the unbelievers, especially if there weren't very many believers left. You might possibly be able to kill the prophet. And so then, of course, everyone's going to be wiped out. If you kill the prophet, he doesn't have any followers, and everybody gets wiped out. So you have all of these ruins around the world. Every ruin that you look at, that is left by the destruction of a people opposed to a prophet. Now, every place in the world, every central town in the world has had its prophet except for Mecca. Mecca is the last one. And so he's coming, and he's in Surah 6, the entire time. All he's saying is, you can't kick me out. Allah is going to destroy you all and leave me behind, and we will not grieve, and we won't sorrow, and we'll be good. Right? And so that was his theology up until he left. And then when he got kicked out, he just dropped the whole you can't expel me thing, and then added the idea that it is possible for the supernatural destruction to actually be people with swords killing people, because he found out that Titus destroyed Jerusalem, and he believed that happened as a destruction of the Jews for not believing in Jesus. And so Titus is actually he thought was a Christian. But anyway, because Titus was Roman and the Romans are Christians. Yes, this is in the Quran. If you read closely, I know it's absolutely mind-boggling, so you won't get it like the first 5 times you read it, and then you're like, does it really say this? This is so stupid. But so now he has an excuse that if I go into Mecca and I slaughter all the unbelievers, well, then really I'm Allah, and I've done what Allah said he'd do anyway, and so it's fine. So when he's telling people, look around in the world to see all the destruction, he means everywhere generally. Every place you see a destroyed town.
There will be
that was the wrath of Allah. Everywhere. Any place there's a ruin,
right.
Allah destroyed it. And then finally,
right.
Not only that, but because Mecca is supposed to be the last city, there can't be any more prophets after Muhammad who are just regular prophets, right? There should not have ever been another city founded, because now you have cities without prophets, and Allah said there will never be a city to which a prophet does not come. And so New York City, even Baghdad disproves Islam.
Mm-hmm.
New York City disproves Islam.
Yep.
Chicago disproves.
Well, it's because they were doomsday cult.
Yeah.
I mean, he thought the end was nigh. Yeah.
So anyway,
so the fact the end has not nighed is because Islam's false.
If you search for that phrase, and again, the One Little Angel site for Arbery's translation is really nice for getting reoccurring phrases, because it has the entirety of Arbery's all in one PDF. If you search for that phrase about go about in the land and see, you'll find that it's about tons and tons of places that are scattered all around. Like some of which, he doesn't actually know where some certain specific ones are, but Al-Ula was one of them, which is really funny. And he even gives a timeline for a lot of these, like what's supposed to be before and after and stuff. And Hijr, as it's called, it was destroyed in an earthquake in the 370s, and it wasn't terribly catastrophic. It was already pretty abandoned by then, and people just moved nearby. So like tons of people didn't die or anything. But that was 375 AD. That was the AD period. And this was supposed to be one of the earliest ones. That's supposed to be before Sodom and Gomorrah. And he gets the timelines on everything wrong. Like multiple destructions happened in the 300s, or even possibly as late as the 400s. So.
Right. I mean, he doesn't know history very well at all. Like the whole Jesus being the nephew of Moses thing is just wildly stupid.
I love it.
Yeah. So in Perk de Rabbi Eliezer, which is after Islam, it includes the Dome of the Rock, like in the text. So it's obviously after Islam. But there's this very interesting phrase, I think in like chapter 26, that talks about how the donkey that Adam rode is the same donkey that Abraham rode, is the same donkey that Jacob rode, is the same donkey that David rode, is the same donkey that Elijah rode. So it's like, and it says the Messiah will also ride it. So it seems like all of these people are, if you take a very literalist view, it seems like all these people are alive at the same time and just sharing a donkey.
Yeah.
So could he have read a source like that or heard a source like that and thought
I think
all of prophetic history in the Bible happened instantly?
I think that he was from an oral culture you have anything that happens within 150 years is like happening in historical periods, but anything that's older than that is like this epic ancient history. But I actually have to go, or else my darling husband can't sleep, because we just got a new mattress and it was off gassing, and now I have to put the mattress cover on it because my husband's got a broken or a screwed up shoulder right now. So I will catch you later. Thank you so much for having me. This is fun. And we'll talk again.
We'll have to do the gross Islam stream sometime soon. That'll be fun. I have so many for that.
Oh gosh. Well, and we'll just keep playing off one another, because each time one of us will say something, it will remind the other one of something at least as ridiculous. So it will be fun.
Yeah.
Right.
It's gonna be fun.
Bye.
All right. Bye. So while she heads out of here, I'm gonna go ahead and remove her. My last thing I'm gonna bring up before I'm gonna go ahead and call the stream. This is one of my favorite proofs against Islam that I'm developing in my book. It's not original to me, but I'm writing about it probably more than most people should. So, The Sleepers of the Cave of Ephesus is obviously a story stolen, Surah 18, Surah Al-Kahf. It's stolen from Christians. It's from the Christians of the story of the seven sleepers at Ephesus. Well, there's some interesting things that the Quran does with it. First off, it mentions that the people have a dog, which is not in the original story, but is in a manuscript right before Muhammad, separate from the main tradition. So he includes the addition of the dog, which is an obscure detail, which is very interesting. And he also, if you actually read Surah 18 on this passage, it says there were, I think, 3, 5, 7, 9, or 11 people in the cave. So he doesn't actually know how many people are in the cave for the seven sleepers of Ephesus. He's unaware of how many people were involved in this story. Well, your question should be, so it's literally this. It's Surah 18, 22. They will say the 3, their dog the 4th, and they will say 5, their dog the 6th, guessing at the unseen, and they will say 7, their dog the 8th, say my Lord knows best their number. The problem is he doesn't actually say what the real number is. Why? Because there are multiple versions of this story circulating in the 7th century Arabia. He's heard the number 3, he's heard the number 5, he's heard the number 7. He doesn't know which one is true. So he just gives all of them and says Allah knows best. Well, who's talking here? Allah. Why is Allah saying Allah knows best for Allah? What? And this story is stolen from the Jews. This is a plagiarized story where God doesn't even know what's the truth about it. So God is plagiarizing the Christians while not even knowing which one's correct. So whenever a Muslim brings up conscious edits, bring this up. Like, hey, was Allah consciously editing the man-made tradition that he's copying from whenever he says, I don't know if it's 3, 5, or 7? I don't know. It doesn't appear to me that he's consciously editing this. If he can't edit this, well, how can you say he can edit the Bible? Why is he copying fake man-made lore as if it's true and then debating about it? Because the Christians at his day thought it was real. We have no reason to say it is real. It's probably fake. But you definitely can't say, hey, they have a dog, which is not in the main story, and 3, 5, or 7 guessing at the unseen, and Allah alone knows the number. And it says, my Lord knows best their number, but it doesn't even mention it. It doesn't settle the debate. If he's consciously editing, why would he not settle the debate that the Christians are having about the number in the cave? Islam is so stupid. Anyway, Wednesday we'll probably go through how Islam is logically incoherent, because I kind of want to show that with Christian Gadfly, and I want to go through it with you guys as well. The arguments against, and Mary's bringing it up in the chat, she mentioned it a little bit, but Allah is a logically impossible being. He doesn't make any sense to exist in reality. So I'm going to go through and bring up a couple of different arguments. There's like 4 or 5 you can make. So I'll bring up a couple of different arguments about how Allah is a logically impossible being, how Tawheed doesn't actually make any sense, and it's actually way less intelligent than the Trinity. And it's gonna be a good time. Then Friday we'll have a call-in. And then Monday, hopefully Stephen will feel better. We'll get back into some Bible study instead of making fun of Islam for 3 hours and 15 minutes. But yeah, I came to the same conclusion centuries ago. It's crazy. Anyway, may the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, love of God, and fellowship with us always. The book will hopefully be done this year, but it's going to help us a lot with our discussions with Islam. I'm very excited to have it done, and all of the information in the book will be available for free on the internet. I will make it available on this channel, and it'll be available on the 2 websites we're building out. So this will, if you're not going to buy the book, at least go through the material, learn the argument, and we can, Islamic dilemma, Talmudic dilemma, we're going to crush Islam. So go out, make disciples of all nations. Good night.